Chapter 459. The next morning, they took the elevator to the top floor of the Nobel building. After passing through the glass cabinets with all kinds of classic perfumes, they arrived at the audition venue. Ning, she followed Lin Jiji in. She was almost blinded by the dazzling lights. There were many superstars in the room. Every one of them was a big shot, and there were only a few newcomers. In order to match the noble theme of the day, everyone was dressed very dazzlingly. Most of them knew each other and were greeting each other politely. The newcomers were seizing the opportunity to curry favor with some big shots. It was very lively inside. When Ningxi appeared at the door, everyone was stunned. The whole waiting room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Of course, it wasn't because a newcomer like Ningxi was too famous and shocked everyone, but because compared to those popular female stars, Ningxi's clothes were too eye-catching. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was crazy. Ningxi was wearing a dirty mud-colored dress and a pair of old brown leather shoes. She didn't have any accessories on her. She didn't even have her hair styled. Her slightly messy hair was casually hanging down her back. A moment later, everyone looked at her strangely. Because most of the people in the room were big shots, they didn't care about what they said. They didn't lower their voices and began to talk about her in front of Ningxi. Who is she? She's dressed like a beggar. Did she come to the wrong place? I don't think so. Didn't you see that she was brought here by Lin Jiji? Although these people didn't know Ningxi, they all knew that Lin Jiji was the top agent of Lung Manyan. Seeing Lin Jiji, they all looked incredulous. I remember. Don't tell me this woman dressed in rags is Lin Jiji's new artist? Even if Lung Manyan is gone, Lin Jiji doesn't have to bring such a girl. Is Xianxia Entertainment so poor? They don't even have a decent stylist? How can Xianxia Entertainment be poor? They just don't care about it. Lung Manyan retreated for a man, so Lin Jiji can't shirk the responsibility, right? She can't even take care of her own artist. I heard that she was kept in the dark. As her manager, she only found out about it when Lung Manyan announced it on Weibo. Looks like Lin Jiji isn't that good after all. Zhao Meixin is still the best manager of Golden Era. At this moment, an A-list female star from Starlight Entertainment walked up to Lin Jiji. She had a concerned expression on her face, but her eyes were filled with mockery. Sister Lin, did you bring your artist here for the audition? Lin Jiji nodded slightly. I signed her up casually. I didn't expect her to enter the preliminaries, so I brought her here to gain some experience. His words were modest and appropriate, and he did not put himself too low. Being able to stand out among the most popular female stars in the country was already a manifestation of strength in itself. Xinghui looked regretful. She looked at Ningxi behind her and shook her head. Sister Lin, I don't mean to criticize you, but you can't give up on yourself even if you're here to accompany them. Or, after Lung Manyan left, you fell to such a state? If that's the case, why don't you quit being a manager in Golden Era and become my assistant? Although the salary isn't high, it's still better than being your assistant. Chapter 460. Starlight and Golden Era had always been enemies. The female star who spoke was Li Leiling. She had lost her title of Best Actress to Lung Manyan several times. It was rare to see Lin Jiji in such dire straits. Naturally, she would not let go of the opportunity to ridicule her. Watching the two sides fight, the people around them all had the attitude of watching a good show. Someone even teased, "Speaking of which, I happen to be in need of an assistant. Are you interested, Sis Lin?" Li Leiling put on a pleased expression. Hee, I didn't expect Sis Lin to be so popular. Even if the newbie can't make it, I won't have to worry about not having a backup plan. Ningxi watched as Lin Jiji was besieged by a group of big shots in the circle, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. She remembered Lin Jiji's instruction that no matter what happened, she should try not to speak. She found a quiet corner and sat down. She closed her eyes slightly, not being disturbed by the outside world, and concentrated on preparing her emotions. Not long after, the auditions began. Ningxi drew a good number. There were 30 people in total, and she drew the number right in the middle. Li Leiling drew number 14. She looked at the number 15 in Ningxi's hand and shook her head with a sigh. Tisk, it's such a good number. What a pity. Soon, the first interviewee entered the audition hall. The first interviewee was already terrifying enough. Even though she did not have a good family background or education, she had relied on her own strength to become the best actress of the Golden Horse Awards. Many of the female stars were nervous when they saw Fang Xiaowen was the first to enter the audition hall. Li Leiling, on the other hand, was full of disdain. She's just a peasant with a primary school education. How could she understand the meaning of nobility? Even though Li Leiling did not have a particularly dazzling title, she was still popular. Her biggest advantage was that she came from a wealthy family. Her father was a high-ranking official, and her mother was a famous fashion tycoon. She had received a noble education since young and was proficient in the four arts. Among the female stars present, there might be some who were more popular than her, but none of them were from families that were richer than her. Li Leiling's outfit alone was probably more expensive than Nobel's endorsement fee. No wonder she was so confident. In less than a minute, Fang Xiaowen came out. Her agent immediately went up to ask her about the situation. Fang Xiaowen shook her head with a gloomy face. Her agent was a little disappointed, but she still comforted her. Li Leiling crossed her arms in front of her chest, looking as if she had expected it. TSK, I knew it. A country bumpkin can be so noble. In addition to Li Leiling, there were other female stars with good family backgrounds who obviously looked down on Fang Xiaowen. At this moment, their expressions were a little sarcastic. Fang Xiaowen couldn't take it anymore and stormed out of the door when she saw everyone ridiculing and mocking her for overestimating herself. Although she had fought her way to the title of Best Actress, she still couldn't get rid of the influence of her family background and education. In the corner, Ningxi opened her eyes and looked at Fang Xiaowen's back. There was a trace of regret in her eyes. Fang Xiaowen felt it was a pity. With her acting skills and popularity, this endorsement deal would have been a piece of cake. The second female star who went in for the interview had a very rich father who threw a lot of money into the entertainment circle to get her out. Still, she came out in less than a minute. The third female star's parents were also from the entertainment industry. She worked hard enough and was a classic example of a talented person. She lasted for 3 minutes, but still failed in the end. Chapter 461. Watching the actresses enter and exit the audition one by one, many of whom were A-list actresses, the pressure on the remaining actresses inevitably increased, especially when the director of the Nobel commercial, Cook, kept cursing in the audition hall. Cook's Chinese wasn't bad. Everyone outside could hear his curses clearly. Did they really understand what I said? I suspect there's something wrong with their IQ. What I want is nobility, elegance, not a soulless puppet that dances on a music box. Fang Xiaowen? No, she can't do it. Her performance was good, but her eyes betrayed her lowly soul. Su Jiaojiao? Are you kidding? She's like a walking accessory rack. How vulgar. Meng Shi? She can be an excellent actress, but she's definitely not the noble goddess in my heart. The previous one? You mean number 13? Oh my God. She's lying to me maliciously. She doesn't know anything about the zither. Listening to Cuck's extremely harsh and blatant nitpicking, the originally arrogant female stars outside didn't look too good. Does this foreigner even know what he's doing? He's criticizing everyone. I think he's just prejudiced against the Chinese. His words are too harsh. He already said it's just a performance. Don't tell me he really knows how to play. According to his logic, an actor is a god who is proficient in all kinds of things. Only those who don't have the ability will find excuses from others. Soon, it was number 14's turn. After saying this, Li Leiling confidently walked into the audition hall. When Li Leiling pushed the door open, Cook, who was originally full of anger, suddenly froze. Li Leiling was wearing a vintage and luxurious Chinese cheongsam, a valuable pearl necklace around her neck, and her hair was tied up in a bun with a clear jade hairpin. Not only did she embody nobility and elegance, but she also displayed the characteristics of China. After seeing Li Leiling, Cook's eyes immediately lit up, and even his attitude softened. Oh, my dear baby, come here, come here. Let me take a good look. Li Leilang let Kuk look at her without any fear. She had been educated as a noble since she was a child. Her every word and action naturally exuded a noble temperament. She did not need to act at all. Kuk sized her up and was very satisfied. "Miss Li, you can start your performance now." The audition hall was very big, and there were all kinds of props in it. There was a zither, a piano, a brush, a chess set, a needle and thread, a fan, a handkerchief. Li Leilang casually glanced at them and touched a zither. This one, compared to the guzheng, the guqin was more difficult to play. It had a range of 4 octaves and 2 notes, 7 scattered notes, 91 overtones, and 147 pressed notes. There were many playing techniques. If you wanted to pretend to be Kuk, it was impossible. Kuk had lived in China for 20 years and deeply loved Chinese culture. He was a complete Chinese expert. Previously, there was a female star who tried to fool him, but she was mercilessly humiliated by Kuk. Seeing that Li Leilang had also chosen the zither, Kuk's gaze was a little judgmental. However, when she began to play, Kuk's gaze gradually changed. Chapter 462. After Li Leilang's performance, Kuk revealed an expression of struggle and hesitation for the first time. Previously, he had told the actresses that they had failed the audition and told them to get lost on the spot. Kuk and his assistant discussed for a long time. In the end, the assistant walked to Li Leilang and said politely, "Miss Li Leilang, we will continue with the audition. Could you please wait outside for a while?" What he meant was that he was satisfied with her performance, but he wanted to see if there were any better candidates later on. Li Leilang nodded. "Of course. Huh. How could there be anyone better than her?" The endorsement was definitely hers. Under the anxious gazes of the remaining people, Li Leilang finally came out. She had been in there for a full 10 minutes, and there was only the sound of the zither. There was no sound of Kuk's angry roar. Li Leilang had a determined look on her face. She did not leave like the other eliminated contestants. Instead, she found a seat and continued to wait. It was obvious that Li Leilang had entered the final round. It was very likely that she was already the candidate in Kuk's heart. As for the rest, if none of them could surpass Li Leilang, then they could only serve as foils for her. All of a sudden, the other female stars wavered, especially those with high statuses. They obviously did not want to embarrass themselves, but they could not bear to part with such a high-end endorsement. "Next, get ready on the 15th. The assistant informed outside the door. At that moment, Xianxia was still immersed in her own world. Lin Zhizhi did not disturb her and only accompanied her quietly. Li Leilang looked at Xianxia, who was curled up in the corner, and felt even more proud. "Sister Lin, I really don't want to criticize you, but of all the people you could have chosen, you just had to choose a money-losing person who was kicked out of Starlight. Don't tell me you're still insisting on letting her audition at a time like this. You're not the only one who will embarrass yourself, but the entire golden era." Following Li Leilang's words, everyone's gaze fell on Xianxia. That's right, there's still this one at the bottom. With her in front, they shouldn't be too badly outshone by Li Leilang, right? In addition to those female stars who were waiting for a good show, there were also a few who had been waiting to see what would happen. They wondered if Xianxia deliberately dressed like this and actually had some tricks that she didn't want them to know. Maybe she would change her clothes later. "Sister Zhizhi, I'm done." In the corner, Xianxia opened her eyes. Lin Zhizhi nodded. "Good luck. The auditions will start on the 15th. The assistant began to call out. Xianxia stands up, straightens her skirt and collar, and walks into the audition hall with a straight face, under everyone's reaction. As soon as Xianxia went in, there was a huge commotion outside. "Oh my God, she really dared to go and dress like this? I thought she had some trump card up her sleeve. I didn't expect her to go and dressed like a beggar. Kuk is so scary. Isn't she afraid of being sprayed to death? Tisk, the ignorant are fearless." Sure enough, just as the female stars were thinking this, they heard Kuk's angry roar. "Oh my God, you're insulting me. You're insulting Noble. Please get out now." Chapter 463. Li Leilang took a sip of the fruit drink her assistant brought over. She was overjoyed. Tut, it's better than I thought. Since you know you will fail, why do you have a show-off? Do you think there will be a miracle? Li Leiling picked up her cell phone and dialed a number leisurely. Hello, Shualuo. Leiling, have you finished the audition? What's the result? A gentle voice came over the phone. Yes, I just finished. The result? Of course I didn't let you down. Among the first 13 auditions, there were a few that she was afraid of. But for the rest, there were no competitors at all. She was completely confident that she would win. I knew you would be fine. Haha. Thank you for letting me win. Otherwise, this endorsement would have been yours. What are you talking about? We are sisters. Don't mention it. Besides, you have helped me a lot. Thanks to you for introducing your mother to my father's company last time. It's just a small matter. By the way, do you know who I saw just now? Who? Your adopted daughter from the countryside, Ningxi. Why did she go to the audition? Who knows what kind of dogshit luck she had to actually pass the preliminary test. But it's also thanks to her luck that I was able to watch a good show. Do you know? The theme of our commercial is nobility, but she came here dressed like a beggar. What? Is she crazy? I think so. Why are you so afraid of this kind of person? She's digging her own grave. Well, I'm not talking to you anymore. Wait for my return. At the same time, in the audition hall, facing Cuck's incredulous gaze and mockery, Ningxi stood there quietly. Her expression did not change at all, and her eyes were clear and clean. On the contrary, facing such a pair of clear eyes, Cuck inexplicably had an illusion of guilt. In fact, the girl's dressing today was not too excessive. It was just that compared with the extravagant and dazzling female stars outside, it seemed too casual and perfunctory. Although the color of her dress looked dirty and old, it was actually very clean and tidy. Her small face, which had no makeup at all, reminded him of a Chinese poem, Hibiscus out of clear water, nature carves. However, facing such an unprepared audition, Cuck still felt insulted. He was determined to eliminate her. You, I'm talking to you. Don't you understand Chinese? You have been eliminated. Please leave this place immediately. Don't affect the people behind you. He didn't even have the mood to look at her name. When Cuck was yelling, Ningxi had already walked to the zither that Li Leiling had just played, and her fingers seemed to casually pluck the strings a few times. Seeing this, Cuck became even angrier. Please do not casually touch the Tao. Before he could finish speaking, a string of extremely smooth and skillful zither notes lingered in his ears. This is... You actually know the Guangling powder? Cuck was slightly shocked. This was one of the extremely difficult songs in ancient zither songs. Just now, Li Leiling only chose a song, Dancing in the Autumn Wind of Wudong Leaves. Ningxi did not speak. She slowly sat in front of a zither and began to play. Cuck was attracted by the increasingly exciting sound of the zither, and for a moment, he forgot to speak. Chapter 464. Guangling San is one of the 10 famous Guqin songs in the history of Chinese music. Its melody is impassioned and generous. It is the only existing Guqin song in China that has a murderous and fighting atmosphere. It expresses the spirit of avenging one's father and has a high ideological and artistic value. Listening to the girl's Guangling San, Cuck's expression became more and more shocked. This is his favorite of all the Guqin songs because it is not a decadent sound. It expresses a kind of rebellious spirit and fighting will. What shocked him even more was that as a girl, not only was she skilled, but she was also able to accurately play the Guangling powder's aura. Cuck was completely immersed in the sound of the Guqin. He stared at the girl in front of him. Her clothes were not bright. She did not put on any makeup. She even looked like a beggar. However, when she sat in front of the Guqin, when she began to play the music, although she dressed like a beggar, no one would think that she was really a beggar. There must be a story behind her. After playing the song, Cuck could not come back to his senses for a long time. After a long while, he suppressed his excitement and said, Miss, your Guangling San is beyond my imagination. Thank you. Ningxi nodded slightly to express her gratitude. Her face was as calm as an ancient well. The girl in front of him, whether she was reprimanded or praised, was always calm. It made him feel that there was a trace of nobility in this girl. Yes, it was nobility, and it was the kind of nobility that only a real aristocrat would have. Even if she was down and out, the noble aura in her bones would never change. It was amazing. Just now, no one could give him this kind of feeling. Even Li Leilang's performance couldn't be given full marks. He felt that it was too deliberate and polished. Why did this girl dressed like a beggar in front of him give him a noble feeling? Kuk took a deep look at the girl, and his heart was full of excitement. It took him a long time to calm down and continue the audition. "Excuse me, how do you understand the meaning of the word noble?" The answers of those artists just now were roughly the same. They thought that nobility was knowledge and cultivation, and it was a combination of internal and external cultivation. He naturally agreed with this answer. At this moment, he was looking forward to the girl's answer. After hearing Kuk's question, Ningxi knew that Kuk had recognized her performance just now. Now, she only had one last step left. After deliberating over her wording, she began to narrate. "I think that true elegance and nobility is not to mention the name of a luxury brand, not to twirl the expensive accessories on your wrist, not to show off your beauty and knowledge. True nobility is to be unconcealable even if you are in ragged clothes and dirty hair." Hearing this, Kuk's eyes lit up and his whole face began to shine. Ningxi continued, "A woman can be identified by her fragrance. Perfume can reflect a person's taste better than any other luxury goods. I think for a woman, perfume is more important than clothes, just like temperament is more important than appearance. As one of the classic fashion elements, perfume was different from other fashion elements such as clothing, makeup, and hairstyles. Perfume was the most classic and lasting. The taste of good will never go out of style." Kuk couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised and nodded in agreement. "Yes, yes, you said it very well." This girl's interpretation was perfect for their theme. Chapter 465. Outside the audition hall. The waiting female stars first heard Kuk's angry rebuke, then suddenly quietened down, followed by a passionate melody. One of the female stars sneered. "I thought Lin Jiji had prepared trump card for her, but she's playing the zither just like Li Leilang. With Li Leilang in front of her, isn't she just asking to be humiliated? Lin Jiji's professionalism is getting worse and worse. Even if she's just a small assistant, I don't trust her." Someone who knew a little frowned. "This song seems to be more difficult than the one Li Leilang played. But I don't think it's going to work." Li Leilang was more familiar with the zither. She was indeed nervous for a second when she heard the skillful and difficult zither playing. However, she soon snorted disdainfully. "Sister Lin, it's fine if your little girl from the countryside doesn't know anything, but don't tell me you don't know anything either." The ancients would burn incense and wash their hands before playing an elegant musical instrument like the zither. Their attire would also have to match the instrument. She's insulting the history of China with that kind of honor. Just wait to be scolded by Kuk. The others listened to Li Leilang's words and agreed with her. Lin Jiji's expression was still calm as she waited for Ningxi's result. The fact that Kuk did not chase Ningxi out the moment she started playing meant that she had taken the first step to success. However, Ningxi's method was still too risky. She had no idea what the final result would be. After a while, Kuk's roar could not be heard even after she finished playing the song. Everyone looked at each other and could only continue to wait. However, the wait was even longer than the wait for Li Leilang. Some people could not help but start pacing back and forth anxiously. What's going on inside? Why isn't she coming out yet? Who knows? Maybe the director is so angry that scolding her isn't enough to vent his anger. Kuk is one of the top 10 advertising directors in the world. It's normal for him to have a bad temper. I think even Golden Era is going to be implicated this time. At the same time, in the audition hall, after Ning, she explained her understanding of nobility. Kuk, who repeatedly agreed, finally remembered to ask about Ningxi's identity. He grabbed the information of the auditioners from his assistant and then saw a name that surprised him. Ningxi. Oh God, you are Meng Chang'e. Meng Chang'e? Yes, It was a role in a movie I participated in. Lin Jiji had said that she had sent in the trailer of The World. So Ning, she wasn't surprised that he knew the name. She just wondered if Kuk was too excited. Dear Miss Ning, when I first saw Meng Changa, I was deeply attracted. I can't wait to watch this movie. Can you tell me when it will be released? Kuk had an expression of regret that he found out too late. Because her ancient costume was too different from her daily dress, he didn't recognize her immediately and almost drove her out in the first place. For an actor, the happiest thing was that his role was recognized. Ning, she replied politely, the movie is still being edited. I don't know the specific release date, but it's about a month away. Thank you very much, Director Kuk. Chapter 466. No. She deserves my praise. Although Meng Changa was a villain in the trailer, he exuded a lofty and noble temperament from the inside out. That was why he chose Ning Shi, a newcomer, from a group of popular female stars. Finally, he didn't expect her to perform so well today. It was a pleasant surprise. Kuk said apologetically, Miss Ning, I'm very sorry. Because of my ignorance and superficiality, I almost missed you. You're right. Real nobility is in temperament, not appearance. Kuk then took Ning Shi to see the perfumes in the display cabinets in the audition hall. For 2 centuries, Noble has adhered to the ancient aromatherapy distillation technology passed down from generation to generation. The materials selected are all produced in the world's top regions. Noble deserves its reputation as the fragrance of nobility. I'm very honored to be able to shoot a commercial for such a brand. In order to fully display the charm of Noble, I have very strict requirements for my spokesperson. Thank God for letting me meet you. I'm confident that this will be a wonderful collaboration. Seeing that Kuk and Ning, she couldn't stop talking, the assistant walked over and whispered, Director, there are still many people waiting outside. Do you want to inform the next audition candidate? Kuk was finally free. He hurriedly said, There's no need. I've already chosen Miss Ning as my spokesperson. You can have the others leave. Outside the audition hall, under the eager gazes of the female stars, the door was finally opened and Kuk's assistant came out. Ladies and gentlemen, the spokesperson for Noble has been chosen. That concludes today's audition. To thank you for coming all the way here, Noble Corporation will be arranging a 3-day luxurious trip for all of you. I wish you all a pleasant memory. As soon as the assistant finished speaking, everyone was stunned, especially the female stars who hadn't even gone in for the audition. What? The spokesperson has been chosen? But we haven't auditioned yet. Although it was still a little hard to accept, it was within their expectations. Many famous female stars were relieved that they didn't have to go in and embarrass themselves. They walked up to Li Leilang politely and said, Leilang, congratulations. If Leilang gets the endorsement, I'll be convinced too. Li Leilang stood up reservedly and thanked everyone for their compliments. Then she walked up to her assistant. Thank you for Director Kuk's recognition. I won't let him down. Although the assistant's Mandarin wasn't as good as Kuk's, he realized that something was wrong. No. Beautiful ladies, I think you've made a mistake. A mistake? What mistake? Everyone was puzzled. The spokesperson chosen by Director Kuk is not Miss Li Leilang, but Miss Ning Shi. The assistant slowed down and spoke clearly in Chinese. What? Ning Shi? The one dressed like a beggar? Are you joking? Hearing this, Li Leilang's face turned purple. Mr. Assistant, is there a mistake somewhere? Are you sure Mr. Kuk is talking about Ning Shi? She had already reported the good news to Ning Xiao, but now she was told that the spokesperson was not her, or even someone else, but Ning Shi, the country bumpkin she had despised. The assistant nodded with certainty. There's no mistake. It's indeed Miss Ning Shi who just went in. Chapter 467. Li Leilang took a deep breath and said righteously, Mr. Assistant, this result was simply unconvincing. I need a reasonable explanation. The assistant said helplessly, Miss Li, it's Director Kuk's decision. I can't change it. Then let me see Director Kuk. I want to talk to him face to face. Li Leilang insisted. The other female stars were also shocked. They all suspected that the assistant had made a mistake. Even Lin Jiji was surprised by the result. The assistant had no choice but to say, "Okay, I'll pass on the message for you." While everyone was waiting anxiously, the assistant soon came out and said to them, "Miss Li, Director Cook asked me to tell you and the other ladies that when Noble's TV commercial comes out, everyone will know that Miss Ningxi is worthy of her title." Then he bowed like a gentleman and said no more. He looked at the corner and asked, "Are you Ms. Lin Jiji, Miss Ningxi's agent? Director Cook would like to invite you in to discuss the details of the cooperation." "Okay, thank you." Lin Jiji paused, then stood up and followed the assistant into the audition hall. Behind them, there was only Li Leilang, whose face was flushed, and a group of stunned female stars. Damn it. Is it really Ningxi? How could we lose to such a person? What a joke. Actually, I want to say it just now. Not to mention Ningxi, she is Lin Jiji's artist. How could she be so simple? No matter what, Lin Jiji would never make such a low-level mistake. In the end, she really came prepared. We were still too careless. Tut, it seems that there will be another dark horse in the entertainment circle in the future. Puffed. Li Leilang is so embarrassed this time. She was suppressed by Lung Manyun before. Now that Lung Manyun is gone, she will be suppressed by Lin Jiji's artist again. After talking about the cooperation, on the way back, Lin Jiji looked at the girl beside her thoughtfully. The more she spent time with her, the more unfathomable she felt. She had been in the state of meditation and hadn't eaten lunch. Now she was holding a hot dog and nibbling it. Seeing Lin Jiji staring at her, she puffed her cheeks and asked vaguely, "Sister Jiji, why are you looking at me? Don't you think you're lucky to have such a witty companion like me?" Lin Jiji chuckled. "Previously, I always thought that this method was very risky because Cook is a Chinese expert. I was worried that your acting would be seen through, but I didn't expect you to play the zither so well. To have such a standard, you need at least 10 years of practice. However, I don't think I saw any mention of this specialty in your information." She almost choked on her saliva. "Sister Jiji, you think too highly of me. Do I look like the kind of person who would spend so much time cultivating?" With that, he raised a finger. "To tell you the truth, I've only studied for a month, and I only know this one piece. Fortunately, my memory is not bad. I just memorized it by rote. When I first learned it, my only thought was to show off." Hearing Ningxi's answer, Lin Jiji paused and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I see," Ningxi nodded. "Yes, I like to learn a little bit of everything. I learn a lot of things, but in fact, I'm not proficient in any of them. It's fine if I can master it quickly, but I only know a little about the skills that take a long time." She didn't have the time to cultivate her character. Her only goal was to survive. Because of her experience in the Ning family, she had to crazily learn all the fields and knowledge she didn't understand in order to feel safe. Chapter 468. Because of the upcoming perfume commercial, she needed to stay in Luo City for a period of time. Taking advantage of this opportunity, she had a very important thing to do. She was going to visit someone. Midnight, she set off for St. Bernardine, a city near Luo City. Because no one would recognize her in such a place, she didn't need to disguise herself, so she didn't put on makeup. She just changed into a simple and comfortable white t-shirt and jeans. St. Bernardine had been on the list of the most dangerous cities in the country for 5 years in a row. A large number of low-income people gathered here. It was located on the main smuggling route and was the place with the most riots in the country. She paid the driver double the price, and he didn't dare to go any further. As soon as she got out of the car, he immediately drove away. This place was like an abandoned ruin, most of which were low, moldy, dilapidated buildings and abandoned garbage dumps. In the dark alleys, you could see secret deals everywhere. However, the entertainment industry here was very developed. Even though it was late at night, it was still very lively. There were sounds of drinking, playing finger guessing, and gambling everywhere. Among the pedestrians on the street, most of the men were muscular and had hideous tattoos on their bodies, making them look like fiends. The women, on the other hand, were dressed in sexy clothes and had thick gothic makeup on their faces. So, when Ningxi, dressed like a high school student, walked into St. Bernardine late at night, she was like a little white rabbit walking in a pack of wolves. On the side of the street, pairs of probing eyes were coldly sizing up the stranger who had suddenly stepped into their territory. With a lollipop in her mouth and headphones in her ears, Ningxi walked through the streets comfortably as if she was walking on an ordinary street. Because she looked like she was just going home, those eyes just looked at her, but no one took the initiative to find fault with her. After all, anyone who dared to appear in St. Bernardine late at night, not to mention an adult, even a child of a few years old, couldn't be an ordinary person. There must be a powerful force behind him, and anyone with a little bit of vigilance wouldn't go there to court death. After passing through a slum with all kinds of people mixed together, her field of vision gradually widened. Not far away, she was close to the downtown area. The closer she went to the center, the more prosperous it was. That was where the top people of St. Bernardine lived. After a year, there was not much change here. According to her memory, Ningxi came to the door of a detached, small building with ease. This small building was surrounded by a dense forest. It looked gloomy, a little like a witch's castle in a fairy tale. The house was dark without any light. Was he asleep? Or is the master not here? Ningxi pushed open the gate of the courtyard and walked to the door of the small building. She pressed the doorbell. The doorbell sounded very abrupt in the empty night. He waited for a while, but there was no response. He pressed the button twice more, but it was still quiet inside. No one opened the door. Ningxi scratched her head and looked at the row of flower pots under the windowsill at the door. She counted the third pot and took out a bunch of keys from under the flower pot. Sigh. This level of concealment of keys really hasn't changed in 10,000 years. After getting the key, Ningxi directly opened the door and entered the house. She fumbled around to turn on the lights in the house and searched upstairs and downstairs. Sure enough, she wasn't home. Ningxi glanced at the time on her phone and sat down on the sofa in the living room downstairs. She decided to wait here for her master to come back. Chapter 469. In the cold room, Ningxi waited for a long time, but the owner still hadn't returned. After a while, Ningxi got up and was attracted by some cartoon figurines on the table. Her curious eyes looked at the figurines for a long time, and the corners of her mouth rose slightly, forming a smile. The person didn't change at all, as if he was living in a two-dimensional world. But it's really exquisite. Ningxi walked up, randomly picked up a figurine, and played with it for a while as a way to pass the boredom of waiting. The figurine was very exquisite, and every part seemed to have been carefully polished. The figurine's design was very unique, with a proud and lazy posture, holding two realistic guns in both hands. I have two guns. When Ningxi accidentally touched the button on the figurine, the cartoon character suddenly spoke. Caught off guard, even Ningxi was startled and subconsciously threw the cartoon figurine away. I have two guns. One is called Shoot, and the other is called Looking at the cartoon figurine that she threw to the side of the building, still screaming, Ningxi came back to her senses and couldn't help but shake her head. She suddenly remembered that the person was crazy about an esports game, and these figurines seemed to be the mainstream characters in that game. Even the lines of the characters were exactly the same. If others were to find out that the existence that caused most of the underground world to tremble in fear actually had such a cute side, who knew what they would think? After the cartoon figurine finished speaking, the room fell into dead silence again. Ningxi curled her lips and slowly walked forward, ready to pick up the cartoon figurine. Later, if that person saw how she treated her beloved figurine, the consequences. Ningxi shivered, not daring to think too deeply about it. Just as she was about to take the figurine back, Ningxi's eyes inadvertently swept downstairs and found that the handle of the inner door was slowly turning. Ningxi's face lit up, but in a few seconds, the smile froze on her face and quickly disappeared. Originally, she thought that the person she was waiting for had returned, but upon closer inspection, that wasn't the case. The doorknob kept turning, not like the owner returning home, but more like a robber visiting. In a place like St. Bernardine, there were groups of robbers. So much so that it was common to brazenly rob and murder in broad daylight. Especially a place like this where a high-ranking person lived, it became a target for those desperados. Xianxia did not hesitate and immediately returned to the house. She placed the figurine back on the table and opened a drawer. Sure enough, it's still the same. Xianxia muttered to herself, her eyes falling on a pitch-black pistol lying quietly in the drawer. German PPQ, it's really that person's style. Xianxia took out her pistol and quickly loaded 10 bullets. In this city, most of the desperate bandits carried guns. No matter how good they were, no matter how fast they were, they couldn't outrun a gun. After 10 bullets were loaded, there was a squeaking sound. Xianxia frowned and looked downstairs. Right below, 6 men in black slowly walked into the house. Their footsteps were extremely light. Whether it was the way they held their guns or their posture, they seemed to have received professional training. They weren't as simple as ordinary robbers who broke into houses to rob. Are they not bandits? Xianxia looked even more confused. If they were bandits, would they need to make such a big fuss? 6 people with 6 guns? Looking at their clothes, they were also very standard. How could there be such well-trained bandits wearing expensive clothes? Chapter 470. In a place like St. Bernardine, how could there be a well-trained bandit team dressed in expensive clothing? Regardless of whether others believed it or not, Xianxia definitely wouldn't. The 6 men in black with guns in their hands kept making all sorts of professional hand gestures. Their eyes were as sharp as an eagle's as they scanned the entire floor. Soon, the 6 men had searched the first floor. They probably didn't find what they were looking for. Then, the man in the lead raised his index finger and gently beckoned in the direction of the second floor. Seeing this, the 5 men in black behind him nodded and followed behind the man in the lead. They walked slowly towards the second floor, as if they were afraid of disturbing the owner of the building. However, these people didn't know that ever since they came in, their every move had been observed by a certain woman. At this moment, Xianxia completely understood that these 6 well-trained black-clothed men were definitely not ordinary thieves. If she guessed correctly, they should be that person's enemies. Now they came to seek revenge on her, not for money, not for sex, obviously to take her life. However, this scene was really melodramatic. That person wasn't at home, so she was the innocent victim. Damn it, why is it like this every time? Xianxia gritted her teeth. She had encountered similar situations twice in the past. Including today, it was the 3rd time. That person's enemies were really all over the world. For that person, seeking revenge seemed to be something that he had to experience a few times every once in a while. Xianxia returned to the house, her mind racing. Then, she quickly picked up an exquisite cartoon figurine from the table. After activating the switch, she threw it downstairs. The man in black almost instinctively pulled the trigger of his pistol. As the man in black pulled the trigger, a sound like a mosquito's whisper spread. The lower half of the cartoon figurine was smashed into pieces. With a bang, the remaining half of the cartoon figurine fell in the middle of the man in black. "Oh, that shot of yours hurt my feelings." The cartoon figurine's voice rang out. The men in black were suspicious as they stared at the cartoon figurine that had been smashed in half. At this moment, the cartoon figurine was still chattering. "Bro, did you grow up in a crematorium that sells barbecue? This will be a massacre. How about a magic trick first?" Damn it. The man in the lead frowned, then stomped on the cartoon figurine that kept repeating the game's lines into pieces. At the same time, Xianxia's figure flashed past, drawing an arc in the void. Xianxia's gaze was as sharp as ice. The current her, whether it was her state or her expression, seemed to have become another person. If someone who was very familiar with Xianxia was present, he would be surprised. At this moment, Xianxia was just like her a few years ago. There was no fear or complex emotion in her cold eyes, only precise calculation. Bang! As the first spark emerged from the black muzzle of Xianxia's hand, a deep and loud sound spread throughout the building, followed by the miserable cry of the man in the lead. The man in the lead was short of breath. He staggered backward to counterattack. After a few breaths, he collapsed to the ground like mud. Ningxi's spear had hit him right in the heart. Seeing this, the other 5 men in black were horrified. They didn't care about their leader who was shot and scattered to find cover. However, at that moment, 3 more muffled gunshots were heard. Chapter 471. Before the 5 men in black could find cover, Ningxi, who was on the second floor, pulled the trigger 3 times in a row. Bang! 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 As the gunshots rang out. As if to prove something, at the same time, the 3 men in black downstairs collapsed to the ground, their blood staining the floor bright red. Outside the house, many local residents quickly closed their doors and windows. If something like this happened anywhere else, it would cause panic. However, it was different here. This was St. Bernardine, so people were used to it. As for St. Bernardine, the most obvious and memorable label would probably be crime. At this time, there were only 2 men in black left in the building, and they each found a place to cover. The 2 men gradually calmed down from the initial panic. After all, they were well-trained killers. Even if they lost the last one, they wouldn't act like headless flies. Ningxi took the opportunity to shoot several times and temporarily chose to hide in the room. Phew, they still haven't come back. Ningxi took a deep breath. She had been away from this dark underground circle for a long time, and suddenly faced it again. She was really not used to it for a while. Fortunately, her actions just now were all within her meticulous calculations, and she had successfully gotten rid of the 4 of them. To put it bluntly, Ningxi knew in her heart that it was all thanks to the exquisite cartoon figures. Otherwise, she might not have been able to detect the well-trained killers breaking in. Once that happened, the consequences would be unimaginable. Now, there were only 2 killers left, and it was not too difficult for Ningxi to deal with them. Soon, Ningxi found the main switch of the electric board that controlled the whole floor and chose to turn it off. In an instant, the room was dark, like the darkest corner of the night, and the whole world seemed to fall into a dead silence without any sound. The 2 men in black downstairs were also very cautious. They did not choose to act immediately, but quietly waited for the opportunity. As early as a few days ago, when they received this assassination mission, they were already prepared to be wiped out. After all, the target of the assassination mission was too famous in their circle. However, the temptation of money made them dizzy. It could be said that they knew there was a tiger in the mountain, but they still went to the tiger's mountain. At this moment, regret was useless. He had already been discovered by that person, and the probability of escaping from that person's hands was almost 0. Right now, he could only fight with his life on the line. Perhaps only then would he have a glimmer of hope for survival. Cold sweat had already soaked the bodies of the 2 black-clothed men, but they didn't show the slightest bit of anxiety or fear. Trained professional assassins had always been like this. Every day, they wandered around the edge of the Holy Land, licking blood from the edge of their blades, carrying their heads to do business. Today's situation wasn't something that had never happened before. Ningxi, who was on the second floor, didn't act rashly. She had been lucky before, so she had succeeded. The other 2 killers had been on guard. After a while, Ningxi once again picked up the exquisite cartoon figurine on the table, turned it on, and threw it downstairs. Needless to say, that person's cartoon figurines seemed to be custom-made. The quality was very good. Even if it was thrown from the second floor, it wouldn't break easily. "Ah, I think you're a big woman." Suddenly, the dead silence was broken by an abrupt sound. The mocking laughter of the cartoon figurines echoed throughout the building. Chapter 472. Ahaha, I think you're all aunties. You're really made of glass, shattering with one touch. As the cartoon figurines' mocking laughter rang out, the 2 assassins in black instinctively froze, but they resisted the urge to make a move. Idiots, even God doesn't dare to step into this place, yet you're here to die. The cartoon figurine's voice was sometimes male, sometimes female, sometimes low growls, and sometimes bright and clear. As long as it's 998, you'll feel so good you can't breathe. Weird. I really want to shoot something. I have 2 guns. One is called shoot, the other is called ah. What's flowing out? The cartoon figurine's lines rang out continuously, and Ningxi's mouth twitched slightly on the second floor. Although these lines were indeed from the esports game that the person played, when they were connected or heard individually, it felt a little weird. Weird. After the cartoon figurine's incessant chatter for a few minutes, one of the assassins in black couldn't take it anymore. The toy's screams were so loud that he couldn't focus and think of an effective strategy. The man in black wanted a signal to the other man, but it was pitch black in the building. Other than the cartoon figurine that emitted a faint glow, there was no one or anything that could be seen with the naked eye. Damn it, I should have brought the night vision goggles. The man in black cursed in his heart. Then, he carefully extended his right arm, intending to shoot at the cartoon figurine. Bang! The dull sound of gunfire rang out again, followed by the man's scream. He didn't have time to shoot. This shot came from the second floor, accurately hitting his right palm. Their screams are so weird. The cartoon figurine's lines continued. Ningxi, who was on the second floor, had the night vision goggles she found in the building. She had to admit that the person was well equipped. Other than the lack of heavy weapons, he had everything. At that moment, the man in black fell to the ground, his body sliding halfway out. Ningxi, who was wearing the night vision goggles, had no resistance to night vision. Invisible acting is the deadliest. Following the cartoon figurine's lines, Ningxi fired another accurate shot, directly finishing off the man in black who was howling miserably. The screams stopped abruptly. And you, young man, do you need a few rounds? The cartoon figurine's direction was towards the last assassin in black, as if its words were directed at him. Oh, my big saber has been thirsty for a long time. The last assassin in black had a fierce look in his eyes. He raised his pistol and fired several bullets toward the second floor. However, without night vision goggles, it was just a blind shot. It was almost no threat to Ningxi. Your marksmanship isn't bad, but if you want to hit her, you'll have to wait for the next time. The cartoon figurine coincidentally used a powerful taunt. You remind me of the best cow in my hometown. I want to introduce that cow to you. Damn it, he's toying with me. The last assassin's face finally showed anger. Anger and fear made him lose his mind, and he fired a few more shots toward the second floor. But this time, Ningxi was well prepared. Just as the assassin in black predicted her position and shot, Ningxi saw the best time and pulled the trigger of the pistol. Someone as handsome as me is usually the main character in other games. Following the cartoon figurine's last line, the assassin in black fell to the ground with a thud, dead. Chapter 473. Ningxi didn't turn on the lights. She didn't know if these killers had reinforcements. Wearing night vision goggles, she cautiously walked down from the second floor. He walked to the side of the assassins who had died long ago and searched their bodies for items that contained information about their identities. B-level. Ningxi was slightly stunned. These people were actually B-level original sin killers. The so-called original sin could be traced back to the end of the Middle Ages. It was the most credible and influential killer list in the world. Especially when the last war broke out between countries, the existence of original sin was pushed to the peak. Not only was it the largest family force, but even some small countries chose to hire the top killers of original sin at that time. Existence is original, sin original. Sin should be extinguished. The world is full of original sin. The fire of desire can't bear the humiliation. Clenching teeth stubbornly when the power of original sin is used to destroy the whole world. This sentence was once known as the most sacred Bible of original sin. The so-called B-level killers belonged to the lower middle level of original sin, and above B-level were A-level killers. He, hiring a B-level killer to kill that person. Ning, she shook her head. It was simply suicide. Original Sins wasn't an assassin organization, nor was it an organization with a complete system. It was just a ranking list, and almost all the world-class assassins were on the Original Sins ranking list. Only through the Original Sins ranking list would one be able to hire top-notch assassins. For example, these B-level killers only belonged to a sub-ranking of Original Sin and didn't even have the qualifications to be on the Original Sin list. That was why Ning-Shi was puzzled. Who on earth would hire an assassin on the B-level ordinary list to kill that person? Someone as handsome as me is usually the main character in other games. At this time, the cartoon character figurine that Ning-Shi had thrown on the first floor was giving a thumbs up, revealing its white canine teeth and laughing. Ning-Shi smiled and picked up the cartoon character figurine. You really are my lucky charm. Thank you this time. I'm handsome. Ning-Shi, well, I didn't see it. It's time to show my real skills. Ning-Shi, are you blind? Didn't you just show it? Young man, we have to finish quickly. I still have some treasures to dig. Ning-Shi. Finally, Ning-Shi used her index finger to turn off the button of the cartoon character. Only then did the talkative cartoon character stop chattering. Before Ning-Shi could do anything, the sound of irregular footsteps came from outside the house. At that moment, Ning-Shi quickly hid by the window and observed the situation outside. He saw several foreign men pacing outside the door, looking into the building from time to time, as if they were waiting for something. These people weren't assassins on the Deadly Sins ranking list. Just by listening to their irregular footsteps, it was easy to tell that they were. Suddenly, the cell phone of the leader, who had been dead for a long time, rang in his pocket. Ning-Shi quickly stepped forward and took out her phone. It was a message from Jeffrey. The content of the message was, "Did you succeed?" Ning-Shi pondered for a moment, then used the man's phone to reply, "Done, but this time we almost died." A moment later, the phone rang again. "Haha, thank you for your hard work. As for the reward, I will give you more. Now, I will ask my men to retreat first. They still have things to do." Chapter 474. Ning-Shi turned off her phone, deep in thought. Those people outside should be the subordinates that Jeffrey mentioned. Seeing that they had left, Ning-Shi pondered for a long time and finally decided to leave the house and follow them. She did not know when the person she was waiting for would return, so she might as well follow them and see who this so-called Jeffrey was. He actually dared to hire a B-grade assassin to assassinate that person. Soon, Ning-Shi packed up, brought the lucky item figurine, and quietly followed behind the foreigners. About half an hour later, Ning-Shi followed them to a relatively remote villa. There were a few men guarding the villa. "Is that Jeffrey the owner of this villa?" Ning-Shi muttered to herself. If this was really the headquarters, she should not act rashly. Just as Ning-Shi was about to leave, a middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s was pushed out of the villa by a few people and roughly pushed to the ground. You bastards, this place is my home. You can't chase me out. Absolutely not." The middle-aged man roared angrily, his eyes burning. "Hey, who do you think you are now? Maybe you won't be able to see tomorrow morning's sunshine. You idiot." "Oh, my dear Luo Fu, the weather has been gloomy and rainy for the past few days. There's no sunshine at all. Idiot, I'm just being funny. You don't understand my humor. Get out of my house right now." The middle-aged man struggled to get up, pointed at those people, and shouted angrily, "You rotten old man, get out of here." One of the young men slapped the middle-aged man's right cheek. With a crisp sound, the middle-aged man was slapped to the ground. "I'll kick you to death, you old fart." The young men took turns to kick the middle-aged man and used all sorts of vicious words to insult him. At this time, Ning-Shi had already snuck into the villa. In the end, she found out that this was just an ordinary villa, not the headquarters of Jeffrey that she had imagined. She did not find Jeffrey in the villa either. After searching, Ning-Shi directly left the villa through the main entrance. "Old thing, I'm going to take your head today. Do you think you can still keep your life?" "Ha ha ha. Boss has already said to take your dog's life." "Luo Fu, where's his dog? Let me handle it." "Bastard, did you watch too many porn movies? Are you looking for trouble?" The young man named Luo Fu scolded jokingly. "Ha ha ha." At this moment, they inadvertently glanced at the villa and saw a woman slowly walking out of the villa. Seeing this, Lav and the others were confused. Who is this woman? Why is she in the villa? You, little girl. That's right, I'm talking about you. Stop looking around and look at me. Lav stopped punching and kicking the middle-aged man and blocked Ningxi's way. Ningxi stood there expressionlessly. Who are you? Why did you walk out of the villa? Luo Fu looked Ningxi up and down. Looking at Ningxi's exquisite and beautiful face, he smiled meaningfully. Is this your home? Ningxi didn't answer but asked. What did you say? Hearing Ningxi's words, Lav's expression changed. No one had ever dared to speak to him in such a tone. Little girl, I'm Lav, the younger brother of the new boss of Solomon, Jeffrey. Do you know who I am? If you don't, I can tell you. And I'm going to sleep with you today. Lav said fiercely. Chapter 475. Ningxi was taken aback by the young man's words. This man was the younger brother of Jeffrey. Lav was displeased. As soon as he finished his words, the woman's arm flashed and hit his face with her elbow. What did you say? I didn't hear you clearly. Ningxi stared at the wailing Lav and asked calmly. You bitch! How dare you hit me? Lav clutched his swollen face and glared at Ningxi fiercely. He yelled at the people behind him, Beat her! Beat her to death! I'm going to sleep with her tonight. Hearing Lav's yell, the people finally came to their senses. Ningxi's beautiful elbow strike had knocked the sturdy Lav to the ground. They were stunned for a moment. Lav, are you going to beat her to death or sleep with her? Can she still sleep if she's beaten to death? One of the bald, brawny men asked subconsciously. Fuck you, buddy. Get her. Lav cursed. As soon as Lav's voice fell, the brawny bald, Buddy, and the others quickly surrounded Ningxi. Wait, Ning, she shook her head. Chick, are you begging for mercy? The brawny bald, Buddy yelled coldly. Ningxi strode forward and fetched a few iron rods from the side. She distributed the iron rods to the people one by one. Ningxi's actions caused these people to look at each other in dismay. They seemed to find it hard to understand. Okay, you can come now. Ning, she clapped her hands and nodded with satisfaction. It was boring to play with them if they were too weak. This was much better. Fuck, I think you're tired of living. Bitch, how dare you look down on us? Do you want to die? In the eyes of the people, Ningxi's action was an absolute provocation and disdain. As outstanding members of Solomon, how could they stand it? Of course, they were the ones who gave themselves the title of outstanding member. With the brawny bald man in the lead, the people held the iron rods and slashed at Ningxi from top to bottom. Slow down. I'm going to sleep with her tonight. Don't cripple her, or it will affect my character. Also, don't hit her face. Lav yelled as he guarded the middle-aged man. However, a few breaths later, Buddy, who was the leader of the group, was sent flying by Ningxi's kick. He fell hard next to Lav as he wailed in pain. It was like a chain reaction. 1, 2, 3, 4. It didn't take long for those people to be beaten back by Ningxi. The iron rods that Ningxi had given them before also flew out of their hands and fell to the ground. Fuck! Fuck! Where did this woman come from? She's too powerful. The bald man's face was full of horror. Hit him. Buddy, shoot her. Lav finally realized something was wrong and asked Buddy to take out his gun. Their team was only given one gun, and the only gun was with their captain, Buddy. Although Lav was Jeffrey's younger brother, he did not have any special rights in this regard. Hearing that, Buddy immediately took out a pistol from his waist and aimed it at Ningxi. Ningxi's expression remained unchanged as the black muzzle was pointed at her. Her right hand was already gripping the handle of the gun. She was confident that she could kill the brawny bald man the moment he opened fire. Shoot her, Buddy, you idiot! Lav yelled angrily when the brawny bald man didn't shoot. At this moment, the brawny bald man was embarrassed. He chuckled. I'm doomed this time. Every time I go out, I'm afraid that my gun will be snatched away during a fight. That's why I never load bullets. Luo Fu and the others were completely dumbfounded by his words, and Ningxi almost burst into laughter. Chapter 476. There were no bullets in the gun. When Lav found out about this, he cursed out loud and even cursed 18 generations of his ancestors. Lav, I'm the leader of our team after all. As the leader, I need to have some dignity. It's not good for you to scold me all the time. Buddy stared at Lav. Go to hell with your dignity. Lav kicked Buddy. Buddy took half a step back and immediately got into a boxing stance. Before Lav could react, he punched Lav's chin with an uppercut. Lav, I've tolerated you for a long time. Have a taste of my power. Seeing Buddy's betrayal, the middle-aged man quickly got up and followed behind Buddy to teach Lav a lesson. The others wanted to help Lav, but Xianxia suddenly attacked and knocked them out with her palm. Hey, Lav, watch my combination boxing. Buddy shook his head and punched Lav's face like raindrops. Soon, Lav's nose and eyes were swollen. KO! Buddy yelled and knocked Lav out with one last punch. Then, like a boxing champion, he raised his arms high and shook his head while yelling, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." While Buddy was gloating, Xianxia snatched the gun from him. Buddy looked at Xianxia, and his arrogant and smug expression quickly withered. He really didn't load any bullets. Xianxia chuckled. This bald Buddy was indeed a clown. Dear lady, my name is Zeus. Thank you for saving me. The middle-aged man said excitedly, I'm the boss of Solomon. My deputy, Jeffrey, usurped my position. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I wouldn't have lived to see tomorrow. Hey, the most useless boss in history. It was already past midnight. Even without her, you would still be alive today, Buddy said seriously. Xianxia was speechless when she heard the middle-aged man's words. She didn't expect that she would accidentally save the boss of some gang. It was probably because the boss and henchmen in front of her were too useless, and she had never heard of this sect before. Xianxia had always thought that the Solomon sect was just a small local gang playing around. After a long time, she gradually realized that the power of the Solomon sect was terrifying, and the middle-aged man in front of her, Zeus, was the weakest of the several generations of Solomon leaders. At this moment, Xianxia was only concerned about that person's safety, so she urged the two of them, bring me to Jeffrey. Jeffrey is ruthless. You'll be courting death if you look for him. Buddy shook his head. Receiving Xianxia's threatening gaze, Buddy immediately grinned and said, I think you're right. I'll take you there. Zeus thought for a moment, then said, I know of a small path that leads directly to Jeffrey's lair. Follow me. Half an hour later, outside a manor in the suburbs, according to the two of them, Jeffrey was here. Strange, there's actually no one guarding this place. Could it be a trap? Zeus was surprised. She didn't have much time to think. Without looking back, she directly flipped into the manor. Jeffrey had hired an assassin to assassinate that person. She didn't know where that person was right now, and whether he was in danger. There were about 13 or 14 strong men in full armor in the huge manor, patrolling everywhere. Just as she was thinking of countermeasure, strange noises suddenly came from the void above. A helicopter appeared directly above the manor. This scene immediately alerted the strong men in the manor who were armed with guns. Xianxia looked from afar, only to see a very hot beauty standing on the rope of the helicopter, wearing a black tight suit with a head of flaxen wavy hair. The rise and fall of her chest was clear. At this moment, the woman climbed the rope and elegantly jumped down from the helicopter. Seeing that woman, Xianxia was instantly stunned. She didn't expect that the person she had been waiting for the whole night would finally appear in this way. Chapter 477. 3. Xianxia was about to run towards the woman when she suddenly saw several men with long guns disembark from the helicopter behind her. Seeing this, Xianxia hurriedly yelled at Buddy and Zeus, "Run!" The moment Xianxia brought the two of them to a safe hiding place, she immediately heard a burst of crazy machine gunfire and wails. Xianxia hid in the shadows and wiped her sweat. Damn it. If she had reacted a second later, she would have been killed by her own people instead of the killers. About 10 minutes later, there was dead silence outside. Jeffrey and those killers, needless to say, must have been completely wiped out. Buddy and Boss were scared out of their wits. If it wasn't for this woman's sudden reminder, they would have become thieves by now. After the gunfire outside ended, Ningxi could no longer suppress her excitement. She immediately jumped out and ran towards the woman. Before she could give the other party a bear hug, the next second, a sharp wind from a fist came straight at her face. Ningxi abruptly bent back and dodged that terrifying punch. Just as she dodged this blow, an even more violent attack came like a storm, not giving her the slightest chance to breathe. In an instant, the two of them exchanged more than 20 blows. From beginning to end, Ningxi had no room to fight back and could only defend and dodge. At this moment, there seemed to be a surprised voice coming from the other side. Then, the attack became even more terrifying than before. Just now, the other party was just testing her, but now, every blow was fatal, and every one of them was a killer move. Ningxi was in great pain and was even more overwhelmed. Several times, she wanted to speak, but there was no chance at all. At this time, if she was distracted, the result would be a fatal blow. Finally, after 100 blows, Ningxi's physical strength reached its limit. Her shoulder was grazed by the other party's fist, and she felt a burning pain. In just a moment of distraction, the other party's hand had already grabbed her throat, and, in the next second, her neck was about to be broken. At the moment of life and death, Ningxi shouted, "Third senior sister!" The other party had already used 30% of her strength, but after hearing Ningxi's voice, she forcibly held back. The woman's suspicious and vigilant voice came from the other side. "Who are you?" Me. It's me. I'm Xiaoxia. Xiaoxia." The woman suddenly withdrew her hand from her neck. Ningxi finally heaved a sigh of relief. She bent over and coughed violently. "Third senior sister, you're too cruel. We haven't seen each other for so long. Yet you want my life the moment you see me." The woman stared at Ningxi in bewilderment for a long time. In the end, the cold and numb expression on her face suddenly turned into excitement and ecstasy. She suddenly pounced on Ningxi like a tiger and pressed him against her chest for a while. "Fuck, Xiaoxia." "Are you Xiaoxia? You're Xiaoxia. I didn't recognize you at all when you suddenly wore women's clothing. Oh, my Xiaoxia looks so cute in women's clothes. Oh, she's so cute. Give me a hug. Cough, cough, cough. Sis, I'm going to suffocate from your chest. Although this is the dream of many men. I don't want to die yet. Brat, I hate you so much." The beauty pouted and let go of him, then corrected herself. "No, it should be wretched girl. I was just thinking who had the guts to sneak an attack on me from behind. I didn't expect it to be you." Chapter 478. Third senior sister, even if you didn't recognize me, aren't you familiar with my moves just now? Ningxi was speechless. "You're quite familiar with my moves, but I didn't expect you to be from the same sect. There's no one as weak as you," the woman said matter-of-factly. Ningxi looked like she wanted to vomit blood. "Senior sister, can you be more tactful with your words? Stupid girl, I haven't scolded you yet. What the hell are you doing? Although you were weak in the past, you could at least exchange a few moves with me. Now you can't even exchange a single move with me. Your body is weak and your steps are weak. One look, and you can tell that you haven't trained at all this year. If Master finds out, he'll break your legs." Feng Xiaoxiao scolded her. She touched her nose. "I'm so busy, I don't have the time." At this moment, one of Feng Xiaoxiao's tall and handsome companions walked over and stared at Ningxi with interest. "Hey Xiaoxiao, who's this little white rabbit?" Feng Xiaoxiao kicked him. "Get lost. You're the little white rabbit. This is my junior sister. If you dare to have any bad ideas, I'll break your third leg." The man covered his crotch and ran away quickly. Feng Xiaoxiao gave those people a warning look and started chatting with Ningxi intimately. "How is it? Is it fun being a star?" "It's fun. If third senior sister is interested, you can come and play a small role next time." Ningxi smiled lightly. Feng Xiaoxiao ruffled her hair. "No matter what you do, you can't maintain your interest for more than a few days. One moment you're playing this, the next moment you're playing that. You can't even settle down. When you said you were going to act, I thought you were just interested in it and would come back after a few days. Who knew that you'd be gone for more than a year? I'm just afraid that I won't be able to bear to leave when I see Senior Sister. Ningxi smiled ingratiatingly. Feng Xiaoxiao rolled her eyes and asked suspiciously, Right, I haven't asked you yet. Why are you here? Ningxi sighed. It's a long story. I was waiting for you at your home, but someone came to your home to assassinate you. I was worried that you would be in danger, so after I killed those killers, I followed a group of minions all the way here. I finally saw you, but I was almost killed by you. Feng Xiaoxiao immediately gave her a loving hug, patting her head as she asked, Is there something urgent that you need me for? Ningxi pulled Feng Xiaoxiao to a secluded corner. Third Senior Sister, I do have something to ask of you. I need your help with a small matter. What kind of help? I will definitely help you. Senior Sister, can you help me investigate someone? Investigate? That's easy. No matter who it is, I'll help you dig up all 18 generations of their ancestors. Satan, who did you say? I want to ask you to help me investigate Satan. I refuse. Feng Xiaoxiao, who had been so confident just a moment ago, changed her mind without hesitation. Ning, she shook her hand. Third Senior Sister, I'm counting on you. You're the only one who can help me. Feng Xiaoxiao's face darkened. Why are you investigating that guy? What use do I have? Ning, she continued to shake her hand. Feng Xiaoxiao held her forehead. It's not that I don't want to help you, but I really can investigate this person. If you really want to know, why don't you ask him yourself? Chapter 479. If I could ask him, would I need your help? Then why don't you ask Elder Senior Brother? Feng Xiaoxiao pushed the blame away. Elder Senior Brother won't tell me. Third Senior Sister, I beg you, help me. I know you love me the most. Ning, she clung onto her. Feng Xiaoxiao couldn't take it anymore. Damn, where did you learn this trick? Why did your personality change after dressing up as a girl? No wonder you wouldn't change into a girl's outfit when I asked you to. If the guys in your organization saw this, they'd be like wolves spotting meat. No way. Third Senior Sister, I only treat you like this. Feng Xiaoxiao said helplessly, Fine, I admit defeat. I can help you investigate, but don't get your hopes up. You know how powerful that person's background is. Also, I can investigate, but you have to give me a direction, right? Ning, she thought for a moment and wrote 3 words on her palm with her finger. Feng Xiaoxiao frowned. Lu Tingxiao, the business tycoon in China? Ning, she nodded. Yes, I want to know if Satan has anything to do with him. How did these two get together? Also, what's your relationship with Lu Tingxiao? Feng Xiaoxiao was puzzled. Ning, she tried to change the topic. Nothing. I'm working in an entertainment company under Lu Corporation. He's my boss. That's all. Feng Xiaoxiao narrowed her eyes in disbelief. Just then, a shout came from afar. Xiao, let's go. Say goodbye to your little bunny. We still have a mission. Feng Xiaoxiao looked regretful. Sorry, dear, I have to go. Ning, she was also reluctant to see her go. Be careful. Oh, right, there's something important. Wait. Feng Xiaoxiao was about to board the plane when she popped her head out again. She took out her phone and snapped a photo of Ningxi. Ha ha, little junior sister's female outfit. I'm going to show it to my senior brothers. Ning, she was speechless. She was only dressed as a girl. Did she have to be like this? After Feng Xiaoxiao and the others left, team leader Buddy and Solomon's useless boss, Zeus, finally walked out, trembling with fear. You know that woman? Buddy was horrified. Zeus was also extremely surprised. You actually called her Third Senior Sister. If I'm not mistaken, that woman is an A-rank mercenary on the original Sin board. Since she had achieved her goal, Ningxi was not in the mood to stay any longer. She had enough fun tonight. Ignoring the two of them, he turned around and walked away. Zeus hurriedly chased after him and roared, Boss! Where are you going, boss? Ningxi stumbled and almost fell. Who are you calling, boss? You, of course. Zeus immediately knelt on one knee and said solemnly, You saved me and killed Jeffrey. Solomon respects the strong, and only you are qualified to be the new boss of Solomon. Hee, the strong are respected? How could you have a nerve to say such a thing? Ningxi yawned. Sorry, I refuse. Then, without caring about how Zeus tried to persuade him, he waved his hand and left back at the hotel. Ningxi took a shower and lay on the bed. She was obviously exhausted, but she did not feel sleepy at all. Her mind was filled with gunshots and the smell of blood. She even felt a sense of fear, as if she had never left that kind of life. Ningxi rubbed her hair and got up. She looked at the time on her phone. It should be daytime in China. She opened WeChat and found Lu Cabbage. She sent a message. "Boss, I got the endorsement for Noble Perfume." After sending the message, she was about to put down her phone when there was a buzz. There was an instant reply. "Congratulations." Looking at those two words, Ningxi instantly felt like she had returned to the human world. Soon, another message came. "Did you not sleep? But did you wake up early?" Ningxi naturally did not dare to say that she did not sleep the whole night. She replied, "I woke up early. I have to go to the commercial studio to discuss the details with the director. When will you be back?" Ningxi reported seriously. "If all goes well, the shoot will be finished in 2 days. After that, I have to go shopping, so I will be back in about 3 days. Sister Gigi has something to do at the company, so she will be leaving the day after tomorrow." "Okay, got it. Good luck." After texting Lu Tingxiao for a while, she finally felt a little sleepy. She seized the opportunity to sleep for a while before starting work. Chapter 480. At a 5-star hotel in Luoyang City, Li Leiling was furious early in the morning. "I don't care. You're my manager. You have to think of a way for me. Otherwise, are you going to let me return to China in embarrassment? I've already told Shueluo that I got the role." Her manager looked helpless. "Liling, ever since the results came out, I've used all my connections to help you. But you need to know that Cook is not only the director of this commercial, but he's also the art director of Noble. He has the final say in choosing the spokesperson. No matter how many connections you use, it's useless. Why don't you go straight to Cook? He can ask for as much money as he wants." The manager tried to persuade her. "Leiling, don't be rash. Do you think I didn't think of that? The environment overseas is different from China. Those foreigners won't fall for it, especially someone like Cook who treats art as his life. I've asked his assistant about it. Cook is completely infatuated with Ningxi. He's even treating her as his muse. If you want him to change his mind, unless what?" Li Leiling asked. "Unless you have a way to move him better than Ningxi." The manager was telling the truth, but it touched Li Leiling's sore spot. Li Leiling exploded. "If I had a way, why would I need you? Useless. You're so stupid. You can't even do such a small thing. Serves you right to be suppressed by Lin Gigi for the rest of your life." The manager's face turned pale. She thought to herself, "I'm suppressed by Lin Gigi because I'm not capable enough. I've invested so much money and given so many resources to you, but you can't even get a decent award?" At this moment, the doorbell suddenly rang. The manager walked over and opened the door. She was surprised to see the person outside. "Miss Ning, why are you here?" "What? Shueluo is here?" Li Leiling hurriedly got up and walked to the door. She saw the travel-worn Ning Shui standing at the door. She was surprised. "Shueluo, why are you here? Come in." Ning Shui sat down on the sofa and looked at Li Leiling. She went straight to the point. "I've heard about the Noble endorsement." Li Leiling's face stiffened. "Shueluo, I'm sorry. You gave me such a good opportunity, but I ruined it." Ning Shui pulled her to sit next to her and comforted her. "Leiling, don't blame yourself. How can you be blamed for this? You didn't want this to happen." Li Leiling looked at Ning Shueluo, and her eyes suddenly lit up. She suggested excitedly, "Shueluo, why don't you look for Director Cook? You gave up the registration for me, but now things have become like this. You can't let Ningxi take advantage of you. With your strength, you can definitely defeat her." Ningxi Luo's face stiffened. It's useless to just compete with strength. Ningxi is most used to playing dirty tricks. How can we win against her when we've been raised in a girl's house? It's all my fault. I didn't know that Ningxi also got an audition. Otherwise, I could have warned you earlier. In fact, Ning Shueluo didn't even enter the preliminaries. She only told Li Leiling that she didn't sign up to save face. She could also do her a favor and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Shi Ning Eling S of the Ti Ning Ti, Shi Feng of Lei Lang Stu Ti. Chapter 481. Li Leiling didn't notice Ning Xiaoluo's strange behavior at all. She complained, "I knew she must have used some dirty tricks. I thought I really lost to her. Xiaoluo, what should I do now? How can I go back to China?" Ning Xiaoluo thought for a moment and said, "Noble has already announced its candidate. It's impossible to reverse the situation, but we can minimize the impact of this matter. The audition happened abroad, so only a few people know about it. As long as we build some connections, they won't tell others about it. After all, we're not the only ones who are embarrassed. They're all more influential than Ning Shi, but they're all defeated by her." Li Leiling's expression softened. "You're right, so don't worry. You're on the same side as them. It just so happens that history has just opened a flagship store in Luoyang City. Tomorrow, I'll bring you along to invite them to shop around. I'll give them a few high-class custom-made items and get to know them better." Ning Xiaoluo's agent said, "That's a good idea. History has been very popular in the circle recently. Many female stars are proud to wear clothes designed by history's chief designer, Dai Wei." Li Leiling took Ning Xiaoluo's arm intimately. "Of course, Xiaoluo has a good eye. She picked the designer at first sight and founded a clothing brand for him. I was just lucky," Ning Xiaoluo said modestly. It was the 3rd day of Ning Xi's arrival in Luo City. The shooting of a Noble commercial was over, and she was going back to China the next day. She got 3 million yuan for the endorsement, which was 10 times more than the previous one. It felt great to get rich overnight. She could finally buy as much as she wanted. Ning Xi's favorite unknown clothing brand, Nishang, was bought by someone some time ago, and now it was renamed History. It was said that it was developing very well and was very popular both in the entertainment circle and among the upper-class ladies. This feeling of having a treasure that only he knew about suddenly made him feel a little disappointed. However, he was more than happy. The development of this brand would only get better and better in the future. Naturally, it would create more classic works. Hister had opened a branch in Luo City recently, and there were many styles that weren't available in China. Ning Shi was going to shop there. As soon as she entered the shop, Ning Shi's eyes lit up. Sure enough, there were many styles that she hadn't seen in China, and almost every one of them made her want to buy them. The only thing she regretted was that the price of clothes had also gone up. Now, to buy a piece of clothing from this brand, it would cost at least 10 times more than before. "Miss, is there anything you like? You could try. You'll only know the effect of the clothes after you put them on," the shop assistant said politely. Let me take a look first. They're all quite nice. I'm a little dazzled by the selection." The shop assistant chuckled and asked, "Miss, are you Chinese?" "Yes. Although our brand is also very popular overseas, clothes designed by Chinese people are more charming when worn by Chinese people. Miss, you have a good foundation, and your temperament is very ancient. Our clothes should be very suitable for you. I've always been a loyal fan of this brand. I've been a fan of it since before it became History." Chapter 482. Ning Shi chose 10 sets of clothes in one go. After trying them on, she couldn't bear to part with them. In the end, he waved his pen and bought all of them. Sure enough, the best way to deal with OCD was to have money. She bought them all and didn't need to choose anymore. There was a dress with flowers, birds, fish, and insects as the theme. It was Ning Shi's favorite, so she asked the shopping guide to pack her own clothes and put it on. The shopping guide smiled at this big customer. "Thank you for your patronage. Please come again." Just as Ning Shi was about to go out with her bags, she bumped into a large group of female stars led by Li Leiling. The woman next to Li Leiling in a light green dress was actually Ning Xue. She didn't see Ning Xue at the Noble audition that day. Why was she in Luo City? All of a sudden, all the shop assistants and store managers in the shop went up to Ning Xue and bowed respectfully in her direction. "Young mistress, I'm here to help you." "You're here." Ning Shi frowned. "Miss Ning?" Ning, she was about to go out and was standing at the door, so they all saw her as soon as they came in. Li Leiling glanced at the bags in Ningxi's hands and said with a faint smile, "I didn't know that you like history too." Ning Shuo walked up to Ning Shi gracefully. "Ning Shi, I didn't expect you to come. Why didn't you tell me in advance? I could have asked the staff to give you a discount." Ning Shi frowned. Ning Shuo was the one who bought Nikkang. As far as she knew, Ning Shuo's favorite style of clothing was European and American. She had always looked down on clothes with Chinese characteristics like Nikkang. She felt that it was too tacky. Why would she suddenly invest in Nikkang? Ning Shi replied casually and left the store. After Ning Shi left, Li Leiling snorted disdainfully. Even if she wears a royal robe, she still looks like a country bumpkin. "What do you mean?" a female star asked. Li Leiling raised her eyebrows. "Don't you know? Ning, she's like Feng Xiaowen. She also grew up in the countryside. She used to herd cattle, sheep, chickens, and ducks." All the female stars were shocked when they heard this. No way. Is Director Cook crazy? Getting someone like that to endorse the prestigious noble brand. If the buyer knows that the spokesperson is a village girl, who would still buy their products? Hee, I don't think Cook has gone mad. He has been bewitched by someone's charm technique. Ning Shuo played the peacemaker. "All right, we're here to buy clothes today. Let's not talk about work. All right, Shuo Luo, can we really get the designer to design a dress for each of us?" A small celebrity asked excitedly. Li Leiling immediately said proudly, "Of course, Shuo Luo is the boss of history. It's just a matter of a word." Most of the people present were famous people in the industry. No matter how popular history was, it was just the icing on the cake. Ning Shuo said, "It's history's honor that all of you beauties are willing to wear history's clothes. I have to thank you for helping me save on advertising fees." As soon as she said that, the female stars' expressions became even better. One of them, who had a higher status, said, "Shuo Luo, you're too polite. It's because your brand is indeed powerful." Chapter 483. After leaving the history, Ning Shi walked around the streets, preparing to buy some gifts to bring back. She was really tired from walking, so she bought some food and drinks, then found a bench to sit down and rest for a while. As she was eating, she suddenly felt as if someone's gaze was on her. Ning Shi looked up and saw a beggar with disheveled hair and a dirty face staring straight at her. It really didn't feel good to be stared at while eating. Ning Shi took out a sandwich from the bag of food, took a few steps forward, and handed it to the beggar. The beggar glanced at her, took the sandwich, and wolfed it down. A moment later, Ning Shi felt as if she was being stared at again. She looked up, and it was indeed that beggar. And this time, Ning Shi realized that although he was staring at her, he didn't seem to be staring at the food in her hand. Instead, he was sizing her up with a picky and displeased look. Ning, she was a little puzzled. "Did I offend you? I just gave you something to eat. What's the meaning of looking at me like that?" Ning, she stopped eating and directly got up and walked over. "Hey, why do you keep staring at me?" "I'm not staring at you." To Ning Shi's surprise, the other party actually replied in Mandarin. She didn't expect that this beggar was actually Chinese. So Ning, she also switched to Mandarin. "You're still denying it? You've been staring at me for a long time, and you're still staring at me." The beggar looked her up and down and replied, "I'm looking at the clothes you're wearing." Ning, she raised an eyebrow when she heard that. She looked down at the dress she was wearing and asked, "What's wrong with my dress?" The beggar didn't even think about it and said, "It's ugly." Ning, she was speechless when she heard that. Even if he had no sense of fashion, he wouldn't find this dress ugly, right? "Then why don't you tell me, which part of this dress is ugly?" To her surprise, the beggar said, "The painting embroidered on your clothes is from Lin Fengyan's flower and bird painting rest. It's a good painting, but the background color shouldn't be such a dark color. The most suitable color is azure. The material shouldn't be silk, but a lighter material. The design of the waist is the biggest mistake. It doesn't mean that the tighter the waist, the better the figure will be. If it can be loosened a little bit, look at the effect, it will definitely be a world of difference." Ning, she was stunned. She stared at the beggar who was endlessly commenting on the clothes she was wearing, and a trace of interest flashed across her eyes. To be honest, she followed the beggar's suggestion and re-examined the dress. She felt that what he said made sense. Ning, she stopped in her tracks and listened carefully. Go on. The beggar snorted coldly. The important thing is that the dress you're wearing is a half-finished design. You're actually selling such defective clothes. You're deceiving the consumers. Ning, she rolled her eyes and looked at the beggar in front of her. How do you know so clearly? The beggar's face was unkempt and his hair was long and messy, so she couldn't see his face clearly. But from his voice, she could roughly tell that he was a young man in his 20s. Ning, she then realized that something was wrong. He was young and strong and didn't look disabled. Why was he begging on the streets of a foreign country? Chapter 484. Hearing Ning, she's questioned, the beggar's body stiffened. He had been talking nonstop just a moment ago, but now he suddenly became silent and fell back to the ground, avoiding the question. Ning, she touched her chin and turned to leave. Hearing the footsteps leaving, the beggar opened his eyes, his gaze still fixed on the clothes she was wearing and the bags with the History logo in her hands. A moment later, the beggar heard the sound of footsteps and stopped in front of him. He casually shook the bowl of change and heard a dawn sound in his ear. He opened his eyes and saw a can of beer appear in front of him. The beggar immediately got up and snatched the can of beer. When he looked up, he realized that the girl had returned and bought a dozen cans of beer, which she placed at his feet. What do you mean? The beggar asked suspiciously. Treat me. I have beer, and you have a story. Ning, she found a piece of newspaper and sat on the ground. The beggar opened the tab and took a sip of beer. He said in a dull tone, I don't have a story. Ning, she smiled. She wasn't in a hurry. After 10 bottles. Let's see if you have any more stories. She was a person who never meddled in other people's business. But if it was something that caught her interest, she would definitely get to the bottom of it and get to the bottom of it. In the end, she didn't even need 10 bottles. After only 3 bottles, the beggar was already drunk and talking to himself. Ning, she shook the beer in her hand and took the opportunity to ask, Now let me ask you again. Why do you know so much about the clothes I'm wearing? You even know that it's a semi-finished product? I know. Of course I know. It's my child, the beggar said intermittently. Huh? Your child? They stole my child. What do you mean? Who stole your child? History stole my Nick Hang. Hey, you know about Nick Hang? Who are you? You said that history stole your Nick Hang. Are you the designer of Nick Hang? But isn't Dai Wei the designer of Nick Hang? Ning, she was even more interested and continued to pour beer into his mouth. Come on, drink more. The beggar finished another 2 cans and continued. I'm the designer of Nick Hang. The only designer. Ning, she raised an eyebrow. Why should I believe you? Then I can say that I am God. The beggar's face darkened. Believe it or not. Ning, she rolled her eyes, took out her mobile phone, and opened an album, which was full of photos of her and Nick Hang. Well, since you said you're the only designer of Nick Hang, let me test you. These clothes in my album, when did they go on sale, and what series they belong to? This should be easy for you, right? The beggar glanced at the clothes in Ning, she's mobile phone album, and his dull eyes suddenly burst into a dazzling light, but soon disappeared like a meteor. He murmured, Beautiful, really beautiful. They have found a suitable master. Hearing this, Ning, she nodded with satisfaction. This guy finally said something nice. After seeing those photos, the beggar finally perked up a little. He clicked on one of them and said excitedly, You even have this style? Chapter 485. This is the first spring clothing released by Nick Hang Studio. The theme is Spring Can't Be Contained. The clothes that the beggar was talking about had a flower as the theme. The handmade flowers on the clothes were vivid and lifelike, as if they would bloom from the clothes in the next second. They were full of vitality, worthy of the name Spring Cannot Be Contained. Of course, I'm a loyal fan of Nick Hang. Ning, she said proudly. At the same time, she believed what the beggar had said. Just looking at the way he looked at those photos, it was indeed the way a mother would look at her child. If he wasn't a designer who had put his heart and soul into it, he wouldn't have such a look. Sure enough, The beggar began to talk about the release date and theme of each set of clothing, and even the original intention and story behind the design. In the end, he held Ningxi's phone and knelt on the ground, tears streaming down his face. My Nick Heng, my Nick Heng. Ningxi squatted beside the beggar and patted his shoulder. Bro, what's going on? It was your design. Why did Dai Wei become the designer in the end? Perhaps because he had been repressed for too long. The man finally began to speak intermittently. Dai Wei is my business partner. He's a classmate I've known since university. We've always been close. I've always treated him as my best brother and the most trustworthy business partner. We started our own business together in university and set up our own studio. I'm better at design, and he's better at operation, so we split the work. I focused on designing, and he was in charge of all the product operations because I trusted him. I never asked about the studio situation. Who knew that in the end, he would steal all the design drafts from my computer, run away with all the studio's money, kick me out, and find investors to set up a new brand. Hearing this, Ningxi finally understood. That brand is history? Yes. Have you ever thought of suing him? Sue him? How? I won't engrave the designer's name on the clothes. He's the only person who knows that I'm the designer of Nick Heng. He's a design major himself, and his style is very similar to mine. He destroyed all the information in his computer, so there's no evidence to prove that I completed those designs. The man looked desperate. Ningxi thought for a moment and then asked, how many of your designs did he steal? The man clutched his chest. His face was filled with pain, and his eyes were bloodshot. All of them. All of my drafts. Even semi-finished products. She tapped her temple with her finger. Then what about here? What? The man did not understand. Can he steal the design draft in your head? The man was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly and said, are you trying to say that I can make a comeback? Impossible. Impossible. From a moment, he betrayed me. From the moment, I saw Nick Heng turn into history with my own eyes. My brain has lost all inspiration. I can no longer be a designer. I know. My life is over. But you still have passion. Do you dare to say that you have no interest in designing? You don't feel anything when you see those beautifully designed clothes? Don't deny it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so agitated when you saw my clothes. You wouldn't be unable to tolerate a single flaw. She said. Chapter 486. The man shook his head. What's the use of just being passionate? Now, being passionate will only make me suffer more. You're right. Just being passionate is indeed useless. This is a very real problem. You still need something very important, money. Are you kidding me? How can I get money in my current state? She blinked and patted her chest, saying, I have it. You? The man looked at her suspiciously. She lifted the man up and patted his shoulder, saying, rise up, young man. Your life has just begun, and your fate is about to change from this second. The man looked at Ningxi as if he was looking at an idiot, and then lay back down. She put her hands on her hips and widened her eyes. What? You still don't believe me? All right, I'll tell you seriously. I like your design very much. You should know that I'm not lying after seeing those buyers' shows. So, I'm now formally inviting you to cooperate. How about it? Are you interested? The man's back stiffened. Cooperate? With a beggar? She chuckled. Yeah, just think of it as me being rich and willful. How about it? With such a sucker in front of you, do you want to kill him or not? The man stared blankly at the girl in front of him. Although she was joking, her eyes didn't have the slightest hint of a joke. She was serious. Why? I've already said that I'm your fan. However, this is also a coincidence. It just so happens that I've earned some money recently, and I'm also planning to invest in a business. Then I met you. However, I have to make one thing clear first. Currently, I don't have a lot of funds. I only have 3 million, and I can invest all of it in you. 3 million. The man murmured, how can 3 million be little? When we first set up the studio, we only had 50,000 as a startup capital. As long as you don't think it's too little. Of course, The most important thing is that you have to pull yourself together and have confidence. I'm an actor, so my main focus will definitely be on my main job. Besides, I'm not a professional in fashion design. So, you're the soul and core of our studio. The location of the studio, staff recruitment, future development plans will all be decided by you. Ning, she analyzed one by one. I. Listening to Ning, she's plans for the future, the man got up, sat up awkwardly, and said, although I've been immersed in designing most of the time, I'm not completely clueless about the operation of the studio. It may be a bit difficult at first, but I think if I'm given another chance, I can do it. Ning, she nodded with satisfaction. With your words, I can do it. Are you serious? You just because of me, of. Ning, she raised her eyebrows, her face full of arrogance and recklessness. You can earn money after you spend it. What's the big deal? I like challenging and dangerous things. Ning, she was a decisive person. After chatting, she directly took the man to a clothing store to buy clothes, had a haircut in a barber shop, and then took him to the hotel to take a shower. Hey, are you done showering? Remember to change into the clothes I bought for you. I've already thrown away your rags. Oh, and remember to shave. Ning, she was about to lose her patience waiting outside when the man finally walked out slowly. Ning, she was playing games on her phone when she heard footsteps. She looked up and was dumbfounded. Chapter 487. The game character on the cell phone screamed. Game over. The young man in front of her was wearing a white shirt, light blue jeans, and white sneakers. His hair was cut short, revealing his smooth forehead. His skin was very white, and his face was shy and cramped. Previously, he had said that he had graduated from university more than a year ago, but he looked quite young. Coupled with the way he was dressed, he looked so clean that he looked like a college student who had yet to graduate. Ning, she stared at him for a long time, and then stood up with a whoosh. She circled the young man several times, her face full of disbelief. Oh, I didn't expect this at all. I thought you were a wretched uncle. I didn't expect you to be such a handsome young man. We don't need to hire a spokesperson for our studio anymore. You can do it yourself. She had picked up a random person from the roadside. She hadn't expected him to be a handsome young man. She was so lucky. That was great. The young man was a little embarrassed and blushed. Boss, what's your name? Hearing the word boss, Ning, she couldn't help laughing. Don't call me boss. We are equal partners. My name is Ning Shi. You can call me Xiaoxi. My name is Xianxia. Boss, I still want to call you boss. You never know what your appearance means to me. If it weren't for you, I would be a walking corpse. Well, okay, whatever you want. Ning, she didn't care about these trivial things, so she let him be. However, it felt good to be called boss for the first time. After all, it meant that she had started to take the first step to the peak of her life. By the way, are you going to open your studio in China or abroad? Ning, she asked. In China. We have just started, so it's not suitable for us to open our studio in China, Xianxia answered. Ning, she nodded. Okay, then come back to China with me tomorrow. Xianxia. Okay. After a pause, Xianxia asked, Boss, what's the name of our studio? Ning, she scratched her head. I'm not good at naming. Do you have any good ideas? Boss, you name it. I hope you can name it, no matter what it is. Xianxia looked sincere. Ning, she blinked her eyes. Why did she have the déjà vu of having a loyal dog? I'll do it. Let me think. Because of Xiaoxia's insistence, Ning, she could only pace around the house a few times, thinking hard. How is Zailing? The rule of law, the spirit of spiritual energy. It was taken from Liu Yushi's epigraph of my shack. It's not the height of the mountain that matters. It's not about the depth of the water. It's about the spirit if there's a dragon. It's not about the height of the mountain. The water was not about its depth. With a dragon, there would be spiritual energy. The meaning is that you're the true dragon that I invited, the treasure of our house. So you will definitely be able to defeat that little mud snake. When Xianxia heard Ning Shi's words, his eyes instantly reddened. Boss, thank you. Thank you for the name. Ningxi was anxious and quickly handed him a tissue. Hey, your man. Don't cry so easily. Okay? I can't stand seeing people cry, especially when the guy in front of him was as good-looking as a girl. Xianxia said with a serious face, Boss, I won't let you down. Even if I have to squeeze myself dry, I will definitely make the Branze Ling famous. Ning, she coughed lightly. Ahem, don't squeeze yourself dry. We have to take the road of sustainable development. Yes, boss. Good boy. Just as they finished chatting, Ningxi's phone rang. It was her boss, Lu Tingxiao. Hello, Mr. Boss. Well, is the commercial shooting going well? A man's gentle voice came from the phone. Don't worry, everything is going well. Tomorrow afternoon's flight back home. Tomorrow afternoon's flight. It'll be late at night when it arrives. You're alone and Lin Zhizhi isn't here. I'll pick you up at the airport tomorrow. No need. I'll call a private car. And I have a meeting. I'll hang up first. Be careful on the road. See you tomorrow night. Ningxi was about to say that she wasn't alone and didn't need to worry, but Lu Tingxiao had already hung up, so she could only give up. Chapter 488. The next day, Ningxi brought Xianxia and embarked on a journey back home. On the plane, Xianxia stared blankly out of the window. I thought I would never be able to go back in this lifetime. Ningxi supported her head and shook her legs. Humph, let's go back now. No matter how many designs that guy stole from you, there will be a day when he uses them all up, and what we have is an endless treasure trove. Xianxia looked at the girl beside him who was in high spirits, and his pessimism was easily infected. He nodded his head heavily, and, after that incident, he hated the entire world, hated the injustice of fate, and even hated himself. With such negative emotions, forget about continuing to design. He was already crippled. He never thought that on an ordinary afternoon, he would actually meet such a person, a miracle. Because he met her, he suddenly felt at ease with all this suffering and injustice. His brain, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly became active. Xianxia quickly took out his sketchbook and began to quickly draw, recording down his inspiration. Ningxi was surprised. You got inspiration so quickly. I suddenly thought of a theme. Xianxia said excitedly. Looking at the big boy's glowing eyes, Ningxi was stunned for a moment, then asked with a smile, What theme? On the plane, Ningxi and Xianxia talked about design inspiration and the operation of the studio, and roughly confirmed the blueprint for the future. When the plane reached the country, it was already late at night. It was probably rainy in the imperial capital recently, so the temperature at night was very low. Just as Ningxi walked out of the airport gate, a gust of cold wind blew in her face, causing her to sneeze. Seeing this, Xianxia, who was beside her, hurriedly took off his jacket and draped it over Ningxi's shoulders. Boss, be careful not to catch a cold. Thank you, Ning, she said gratefully. Boss, do you want to call a taxi? It shouldn't be good to wait for a taxi at this time. No need. Someone will come to pick you up. Wait for me to make a call. Ning, she said as she took out her phone from her bag. I wonder if the boss has arrived yet. Not far away, in a black Maybach that was slowly driving over. Chung Feng's hand that was holding the steering wheel was trembling nonstop. Is there a mistake? Originally, he was happily accompanying the boss to the airport to pick up the lady boss. But why was there a strange man beside the lady boss? Wasn't this asking for death? He cautiously glanced at the back seat through the rearview mirror. In the end, he only took half a glance before he didn't dare to continue looking. He quickly looked away. The boss's expression was terrible, terrifying. However, the boss couldn't be blamed for being so angry. From the afternoon of 3 days ago, the boss had already begun to look forward to the day that the lady boss would return. He even reminded him early on about the time that the lady boss would return. He said that he was afraid that the lady boss wouldn't be used to the in-flight meals, so he asked him to prepare a midnight snack. He was also afraid that the weather in the capital was cold, so he asked him to prepare a blanket in the car. He was meticulous these few days. As long as he received a call from his boss, he would know that it was about Lady Boss. It was just a few days, but he was so nervous. Those who didn't know better would think that they hadn't seen each other for years. He, a man with a girlfriend, was abused to the point that he didn't want to. But now, Chung Feng watched helplessly as the man beside the lady boss took off his coat and draped it over the lady boss's shoulders. He widened his eyes in horror and almost vomited 3 liters of blood. He began to seriously consider abandoning the car and running away. Chapter 489. Then, that, boss, do we still need to continue forward? Chung Feng asked cautiously. In the end, it would have been better if he hadn't asked. The moment he asked, the hatred was immediately transferred to him. Lu Tingxiao's gaze shot over like an icy blade. Chung Feng immediately shut up, no longer asking this kind of stupid question, and continued to drive forward. Xianxia, when you pick up my friend later, don't call me boss, just call me by my name. Ningxi specially reminded Gong Xianxia. After all, being called boss in front of boss was really too shameful. Okay, I understand. Gong Xianxia obediently replied. Because Ningxi was burying her head in her bag to search for her phone, she didn't notice that a black car had quietly stopped beside her. The car door opened, and Chung Feng was the first to get out. He jogged to open the door of the back seat, and then a pair of slender legs stepped out. When the man got out of the car, the surrounding air seemed to become even colder. Gong Xianxia looked at the man with a frosty expression and instinctively sensed the danger signal. Out of the mentality of protecting his master, he subconsciously brought Ningxi, who was still unaware, to his side. However, this action of his caused the man's aura to suddenly change, instantly becoming fierce. Gong Xianxia inexplicably felt a chill, and even his palms were sweating. This man? What was going on? She finally took out her phone. After turning it on, she found Lu Tingxiao's number and immediately dialed it. In the end, the moment she dialed the number, a familiar ringtone sounded from the other side of her. She jumped in shock and reflexively raised her head. In the end, she saw Lu Tingxiao's cold face in front of her. Lu Tingxiao. She unconsciously mumbled, then rubbed her eyes hard, thinking that she was seeing things. At this moment, behind Lu Tingxiao, Chung Feng was trembling with his head buried, with an expression that showed he was resigned to his fate. After confirming that the person in front of her was really Lu Tingxiao, the girl's little face was instantly filled with surprise, and she happily jumped forward. Lord Boss, it's really you. I thought I was seeing things. I was just calling you. Gong Xianxia, who was standing to the side, did not expect Ningxi to be acquainted with this dangerous person who was clearly not to be trifled with. He could not help but be a little surprised. Old, Xiaoxi, you two know each other? Chung Feng keenly noticed the word old in the man's words. And? Old what? Don't tell me she's my wife. The lady boss is only abroad, and she's already secretly in love? A bolt from the blue. Something that even Chung Feng had noticed, Lu Tingxiao had obviously noticed as well. That expression of his instantly became as dark as a dark cloud that threatened to destroy the city. Ningxi was still oblivious to Lu Tingxiao and Chung Feng's misunderstandings. She excitedly pulled Gong Xianxia's hand and introduced him. Xianxia, this is my superior, Lu Tingxiao. In short, he's the big boss at the top of my hierarchy. He's my friend and mentor. Lu Tingxiao's expression didn't change in the slightest. Instead, it darkened a little. Although in Ningxi's introduction, she attached great importance to each of his positions, it was obvious that none of them were what he wanted. Gong Xianxia was a little conflicted. Boss is boss. How should he address him? Hello, Mr. Lu. In the end, Gong Xianxia politely greeted him. Lu Tingxiao forced himself to maintain his gentlemanly demeanor, nodding slightly as a greeting. Chapter 490. Gong Xianxia didn't know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the man in front of him seemed to have a strong hostility towards him. Moreover, from the moment this man appeared, he felt an increasingly terrifying sense of oppression. Ning, she continued to introduce to Lu Tingxiao. Lord Boss, let me introduce you. This is Gong Xianxia. This is me. At this moment, Ning, she finally realized that Lu Tingxiao's expression wasn't right, but she didn't know what was wrong. She hesitated and continued. This is a friend I met in Luo City, a very talented designer. What was going on? Not only was Lu Tingxiao's expression strange, but even Cheng Feng's expression seemed strange. Could it be that she said something wrong? Ning Shi immediately changed the topic. Lord Boss, it's so late, and yet you still came to pick me up. Sorry for troubling you. It's no trouble, it's on the way. On the way. How could the airport be on the way? Ning Shi was speechless when she realized that Lu Tingxiao's gaze was on her shoulder. What now? Lu Tingxiao reached out and naturally took off her jacket, then took off his own jacket and draped it over her shoulder again. This one is thicker. Oh, thank you. Ning, she nodded blankly. Lu Tingxiao glanced at her, but in the end, he held back and didn't ask any more questions. He helped her open the car door. Get in, it's cold outside. Cheng Feng, who was at the side, opened the door to the front passenger seat and assisted. Mr. Gong, sit here. There's something in the back seat. You might not be able to sit. Okay. Gong Xianxia was also a simple-minded person. He didn't think much and directly sat in the front passenger seat. The car started slowly, and for a moment, no one spoke. Lu Tingxiao quietly looked at the young man in the front passenger seat. He looked clean and handsome, and his age seemed to be about the same as Ning Shi's. When he saw the two of them standing together just now, although he didn't want to admit it, they were very compatible. If he wanted to know what their relationship was, it was actually just a question, but no matter what, he couldn't ask. He was a nobody. What right did he have to ask about her private affairs? No matter how slow Ning Shi was, she could sense that Lu Tingxiao was in a bad mood tonight, so she didn't dare to speak rashly. Thus, there was a frightening silence in the car, and the atmosphere was strange. At this moment, there was only one sentence echoing in the depths of Cheng Feng's heart. Second young master, come back quickly. I can't bear it alone at you. Ning Shi sneezed again, probably because of the wind outside. Lu Tingxiao pinched his eyebrows and adjusted his emotions. Finally, he was the first to break the silence. Cheng Feng increased the temperature of the air conditioner. After that, he took a blanket and covered Ning Shi's legs with it. Then he gave her the supper that he had prepared. Ning Shi was a little confused by Lu Tingxiao's series of actions. Boss, you're too well prepared. This humble subject is overwhelmed by your favor. Don't be surprised. You're the hero. You've done well this time. Ning Shi took the lunchbox and stole a glance at Lu Tingxiao's expressionless face. Really? But why do I feel like you're not very happy? From the moment she saw him, she felt that there was something wrong with him. Lu Tingxiao took a deep breath, trying to control his immature and self-loathing emotions. I'm not unhappy. Liar. You're obviously not happy. Ning Shi bit her chopsticks and muttered softly. Just as she finished speaking, her peripheral vision inadvertently fell on Gong Xianxia, who was sitting in the front passenger seat. Ah, Gong Xianxia. She suddenly thought of a possibility that she had never thought about. Boss, he couldn't be jealous, right? Chapter 491. This shouldn't be possible, right? She had already introduced him to a friend she had just met. Well, forget it. Instead of making wild guesses, she might as well test him and find out. Ning Shi rolled her eyes and found a topic to talk about. Boss, guess how I met Xianxia? As she spoke, Ning Shi took the opportunity to sneak a look at Lu Tingxiao's expression. Well, he was jealous. Looking at Lu Tingxiao's darkened face, Ning Shi touched her forehead and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In her heart, Lu Tingxiao's image had always been incomparably tall, mighty, domineering, and mature. She had never thought that he would actually be jealous of a beggar. Well, what was her fault? She had forgotten that after Gong Xianxia's transformation, his image was quite attractive to young girls. What's wrong? Lu Tingxiao's expression was very complicated, as if he wanted to know, but also didn't want to know. Ning Shi held her chin and looked at the devil's expression. The more she looked at him, the cuter he was. She wanted to pounce on him and kiss him. I picked him up on the street. Pick him up? Hearing this answer, Lu Tingxiao was obviously surprised. Yes. Haha. You didn't expect that, did you? Gong Xianxia, who was sitting in the passenger seat, heard their conversation and said with a smile, "If it weren't for Xiaoxi, I would still be begging on the streets of Luo City." Hearing this, Lu Tingxiao and Cheng Feng were a little surprised, especially Cheng Feng, whose mind was full of fantasies about a romantic encounter in a foreign country, sparks of love, and finally going home together. He didn't expect such a magical situation at all. Sure enough, you couldn't use normal human thinking to infer the boss's wife. Seeing that Lu Tingxiao's attention was finally diverted, Ningxi began to explain how she met Gong Xianxia. After the shooting of the TV commercial, I was going to go shopping that day. I was wearing the new clothes I had just bought and was showing off. However, a beggar opposite me said ugly to me. I was so angry. Ningxi told the story vividly and in great detail to Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao didn't show the slightest impatience. He was attentive the whole time. Like a qualified listener, he gave timely responses and questions and occasionally guided Gong Xianxia to say a few words. The atmosphere in the car suddenly changed from winter to spring. Cheng Feng heaved a sigh of relief. The crisis had been resolved. The boss's rationality had finally come online. That's what happened. So, Xianxia is not only my new friend, but also my future partner. We've decided to set up a fashion design studio. I'll provide the money, and he'll provide the labor. Hearing this, Lu Tingxiao's tense nerves finally relaxed. No wonder the two returned to the country together. Why do you suddenly want to open a studio? Lu Tingxiao asked. Oh, of course it's for you. Other than acting, she suddenly had other ambitions, and it was all thanks to him. Ningxi thought for a moment and then answered, "It's not sudden. I had this plan before. It just so happened that the endorsement fee for the perfume commercial had been issued. What was even more coincidental was that I happened to bump into a designer that I've been a fan of for a long time while I was shopping. This is simply the will of heaven." She felt that her luck was off the charts. Chapter 492. Ningxi looked at Lu Tingxiao with sparkling eyes. Amazing. Mr. Boss, I realize that ever since I met you in Xiaobao, my luck has been good. Everything goes smoothly. You two must be my lucky stars. A small lucky star and a big lucky star. Lu Tingxiao couldn't help laughing. Really? Cheng Feng burst into tears. Lady Boss was mighty. The boss actually laughed. Because Gong Xianxia didn't have a place to stay in the capital, Ningxi found a hotel near Pearl River Imperial View with Lu Tingxiao's company and settled them down. Ningxi stood at the door and waved her hand. "Xianxia, I'm leaving. Have a good rest tonight. I'll come to see you tomorrow. I'll take you to buy clothes, bags, cell phones, and whatever else you need. We'll see." Gong Xianxia looked touched. "Actually, it doesn't have to be so troublesome. I just need a place to stay." Ningxi immediately pretended to be unhappy. "How can I do that? You're mine now." Gong Xianxia's eyes reddened. "Thank you, boss." Alas, Gong Xianxia's behavior could easily arouse one's desire to protect him. Ningxi's tone softened. "Be a good boy. Go to sleep." Walking out of the hotel, Ningxi sighed with emotion. "Mr. Boss, now I know how good it feels to be a boss. It's good to be your employee." Lu Tingxiao murmured subconsciously. "What?" Ningxi didn't hear him clearly. "Ahem, nothing. Have you chosen the address of the studio?" Lu Tingxiao asked. Ningxi scratched her head. "Not yet. It's not a small matter. I have to think about it. Tell me your requirements and budget. I'll list a few suitable addresses for you," Lu Tingxiao said. Ningxi felt sorry for him. "What? That's not good, is it? Sorry to trouble you." Lu Tingxiao was a busy man. How could she trouble him for such a small matter? Lu Tingxiao glanced at her and said unhurriedly, "It's no trouble at all. You're mine." Ningxi coughed and coughed. "Okay, Demon King, you win." The car soon arrived at Pearl River Imperial View. Ningxi was about to say goodbye to Lu Tingxiao and get off the car when Lu Tingxiao's phone rang. Lu Tingxiao gestured to Ningxi to wait for a moment and answer the call. I'm still outside. What? When did that happen? All right, I'll be right back. Hearing Lu Tingxiao's tone, Ningxi immediately asked uneasily, "What's wrong?" Lu Tingxiao's expression remained the same. He patted her head and said, "It's fine. Go back and rest." Ningxi did not get out of the car. She remained motionless, staring at him fixedly. Lu Tingxiao laughed. "I'm really fine. There's a small problem at the company. I'll go and take a look. I'm not lying to you. Hurry up and go." Ningxi still didn't move. Instead, her gaze became even sharper. Did something happen to Xiaobao? Lu Tingxiao looked a little surprised, as if he hadn't expected her to guess it. Seeing Lu Tingxiao's expression, Ningxi knew she was right. In fact, she didn't know why she was so sure, but she just had a hunch. What's wrong with Xiaobao? For a moment, Ningxi's heart was in her throat. Lu Tingxiao comforted her softly. "It's just a small problem. He just has a slight fever. You know, it's normal for children to have fever. The doctor has already gone there. I'll go back and have a look. It's not a big problem." Although Lu Tingxiao said it casually, Ningxi didn't feel reassured at all. She held her heart, which was beating faster and faster, and had an inexplicable premonition. Chapter 493. Although Lu Tingxiao said it casually, Ningxi was not at ease at all. She covered her chest, which was beating faster and faster, and had an ominous premonition. "Lu Tingxiao, take me with you. I won't embarrass you. I won't go in. I'll wait outside. If there's nothing, I'll come back. Otherwise, even if you let me go back now, I won't be able to fall asleep." Looking at the girl's firm attitude, Lu Tingxiao still didn't give in. It seemed that there was something difficult for him to say. "Can I?" Ningxi took Lu Tingxiao's cuff and shook her head almost imploringly. Lu Tingxiao pinched between his eyebrows, and his face gradually became serious. Finally, he looked at her, deliberated for a long time, and finally said, "Well, Ningxi, listen to me. Xiaobao has more than a fever. It may be a little serious. I can take you there, but don't be too excited." As soon as Lu Tingxiao's voice fell, Ningxi's tears fell uncontrollably. "Xiaobao is very serious? What the hell is going on? Why did it become so serious when it was fine? Didn't you say it's just a fever? Why is the fever so serious? You said you didn't lie to me, but you still lied to me. Are you lying to me about something else?" Lu Tingxiao didn't expect Ningxi's tears to fall so suddenly. For a moment, he was completely out of his wits. He told Chengfeng to drive to the old house immediately, and hurriedly took out a tissue to wipe the girl's tears. He said helplessly, "I didn't dare to take you there because I was afraid that you would be like this. Look, you're already like this before we go there. What will you do when you see Xiaobao later?" "Woo, woo, woo, woo." Ningxi cried, even more fiercely. She couldn't even speak clearly. No one knew what she was saying. Lu Tingxiao's heart was almost broken by her crying, but he didn't know how to coax her. He could only hold her in his arms and caress her back as she cried. "If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have told you." Unexpectedly, Ningxi's reaction was even bigger than he had expected. It was terrible. In front, Chengfeng, who was driving, was also shocked to the point that it was indescribable. Not only was he shocked that Ningxi, who had a carefree and tomboyish personality, would actually have such a weak side, but he was even more shocked that the boss actually had such a gentle side today. He had broken too many records in his understanding of the world. What surprised him the most was the feeling between the two of them. They really seemed like a couple worried about their precious son. It did not feel out of place at all. She was so regretful now. Why didn't she just see Xiaobao in a hurry when she sent Lu Tingxiao to the old house last time? Why didn't she care more about Xiaobao? Why did he not dare to have too much contact with Xiaobao just because he had misgivings about his parents' attitude? Why not be a little more thick-skinned? After crying for a long time, she finally calmed down a little. "Lu Tingxiao, don't hide it from me. I want to know." Lu Tingxiao, "Then promise not to cry." "Ningxi, I can't promise." Lu Tingxiao held his forehead. In the end, he could only compromise. He tried to explain in a euphemistic tone, "Actually, It's an old problem. Since Xiaobao's accident, he will have a relapse every once in a while. The symptom is a high fever. But what's different from a normal fever is that the high fever doesn't stop. No matter what we do, the fever can't be reduced. Chapter 494. Ningxi's face was full of fear. How could this be? Lu Tingxiao hurriedly comforted her. Xiaobao hasn't had an attack for more than half a year since the last time this happened. This time, it might just be a normal fever. Don't be too nervous. Ningxi knew that it was definitely not as simple as a normal fever. Otherwise, Lu Tingxiao's tone wouldn't have been like that just now. Cheng Feng, stop the car. Ning, she suddenly shouted at Cheng Feng, who was driving in front of her. Cheng Feng knew that even if he didn't listen to the boss, he must listen to the boss's wife. Thus, he subconsciously stopped the car by the roadside. Miss Ning, what's wrong? Ning, she didn't speak. She opened the door of the back seat and got out of the car. Then she walked to the front and opened the door of the driver's seat. You get out and sit in the back. Cheng Feng was dumbfounded. However, Ning, she couldn't wait any longer. She directly grabbed the back of his collar and stuffed him into the back seat. Then she sat in the driver's seat and stepped on the accelerator. With a hum sound of the engine, the car rushed out like an arrow leaving the bow. Cheng Feng didn't react in time. He was so scared that he almost had a heart attack. He quickly grabbed the handrail of the roof and looked at the girl in the driver's seat in horror. Just a second ago, she was a weak and crying bunny. How did she suddenly turn into a cold and solemn racing queen? Can't you give me a little buffer? Lu Tingxiao glanced at his wife, who was racing. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Forget it, let's race. It's good to let her vent. The car kept overtaking, drifting, and making sharp turns. Cheng Feng was about to vomit. He looked at the boss beside him with a pleading expression, hoping that he could persuade him. Who knew that he would see the doting and indulgent eyes of the boss? A moment later, they arrived at the gate of the old house. The car still maintained a speed of 400 kilometers per hour. Seeing that the car was about to hit the gate, Cheng Feng closed his eyes in agony. The next second, Ning, she slammed on the brakes. The car steadily stopped half a meter in front of the gate of the old house. As soon as the car stopped, Ning, she immediately turned her head and urged, Lu Tingxiao, go. Okay, wait for me here. Lu Tingxiao got out of the car and quickly walked towards the brightly lit house. In the back seat, Cheng Feng almost climbed out. As soon as he got out, he supported himself against a big tree and vomited in the living room. All the servants were trembling with fear. Lu Chongshan's face was full of anxiety, and Rui's eyes were already swollen from crying. Yen Rui was relieved to see Lu Tingxiao return. She hurried over to him. Tingxiao, you're finally back. Eat quickly. Go and see Xiaobao. Lu Tingxiao walked straight into Xiaobao's room and saw that the little fellow on the bed was as pale as a sheet. His lips were chapped, and his little body was twitching nonstop. He was surrounded by doctors, and everyone's expression was one of panic. Lu Tingxiao's face instantly darkened. Xiao Bao's condition was more serious than he had imagined. Xiao Ting. Yen, Lu Yen said. Yen Rui's gaze was a little evasive. We were not sure either. Xiao Bao hasn't been feeling well since the afternoon. We got the doctor to take a look, and he said that it's just a low fever and nothing serious. Who knew that in the middle of the night, his fever would suddenly rise to almost 40 degrees Celsius and his body would start convulsing. It's exactly the same as before. Chapter 495. Have you used medicine? Lu Tingxiao asked. Qin Mufeng, who was cooling Xiao Bao down with alcohol, wiped the sweat off his forehead and straightened up. With a grave expression, he said, Yes, just like before, it was effective on the spot, but the temperature rose again very quickly. Xiao Bao's body is too weak, and it's not suitable for such frequent and high-intensity medication. We can't use sedatives anymore either, or we'll suffer the consequences. Looking at her precious grandson, who was trembling and convulsing on the bed, Yen Rui's tears fell like rain. But we can't just watch Xiao Bao continue to have a fever like this. Aren't all of you doctors very good? Why can't you even cure a small cold and fever? Qin Mufeng said with a headache. There are many things that can't be explained by medicine. We've already done countless examinations on Xiao Bao, and there are no other diseases in his body. If there are no diseases, the doctors can't do anything about it. How can Xiao Bao not be sick when he's this sick? It's obviously because your medical skills aren't good enough. Yin Rui obviously couldn't bear to listen to any explanation. Lu Chongshan held his wife's shoulder and said in a low voice, Rui, calm down. How can I calm down when Xiao Bao is like this? You should have listened to me and invited someone to exorcise the evil. These doctors are of no use at all. The more I look at Xiao Bao's condition, the more I think he's possessed or lost his soul. Yin Rui said agitatedly. Lu Chongshan's expression changed when he heard that, and he angrily rebuked. What do you mean by possessed? What nonsense are you talking about? Xiao Bao is on holiday today, and he didn't go to school or go out. He's been staying at home all this time. What kind of evil could he have encountered? Yin Rui still didn't give up. Then explain to me, what's the reason? I'd rather believe it than not. Lu Chongshan's face darkened, and he couldn't help but remind her, when Xiao Bao's illness flared up the last time, I listened to you and invited some witch to summon his soul. In the end, Xiao Bao's condition worsened, and he almost... You're actually thinking about all that nonsense now. Are you trying to kill Xiao Bao? Then let's invite Master Xianjing. Do you think Master Xianjing is a charlatan that you can invite whenever you want? It's not like you don't know that he never interferes in such matters. Then tell me what we should do. While the two elders were arguing, Qin Mufeng pulled Lu Tingxiao to a corner and said in a low voice, Actually, I think it's a psychological reason. I'll tell you a secret. There's a reason why your Xiao Bao suddenly became like this. They're just afraid that you'll get angry, so they didn't dare to tell you. Haven't your parents been busy helping you with matchmaking? Today, old madam of the Zhuang clan came to visit you. She brought along her eldest daughter, Zhuang Kua. Xiao Bao must have bumped into her by accident. Xiao Bao must have been provoked. Lu Tingxiao's face instantly turned extremely cold. However, the two of them were his closest relatives, and this matter was not directly caused by them. Now that the two of them were so frightened that they could not hold on any longer and could fall ill at any time, he could not say anything harsh to them. Xiao Bao is more important. Don't worry too much. Ask Ningxi to come and have a try. Qin Mufeng gave his final opinion. Lu Tingxiao pinched the space between his eyebrows and sounded a little irritated. I'm afraid that when she comes, there will be two sick people. Just hearing him talk about it was already unbearable. If she were to really see Xiao Bao like this, how sad would she feel? Chapter 496. Qin Mufeng rubbed his nose at the roar, but there's no better way now. Actually, it was very difficult for him to suggest this method. It was very difficult for him to say it out loud, and he had gone through an intense mental struggle. Okay? As a psychiatrist, in the end, he still had to rely on a layman like Ningxi. It was really embarrassing, seeing that Xiao Bao's condition was getting worse. Yin Rui was about to faint from crying, and Lu Chongshan was also swaying, almost unable to hold on any longer. Lu Tingxiao cursed under his breath, but in the end, he still dialed Ningxi's number, Xiaoxi. Lu Tingxiao, how is Xiao Bao? Is he all right? Is he all right? Ningxi couldn't wait to ask in one breath. Lu Tingxiao found it difficult to speak. Come in. Wait, I'll pick you up outside. After hanging up, Lu Tingxiao immediately walked out the door. Yin Rui saw that Lu Tingxiao was actually walking out and became anxious. Tingxiao, Xiao Bao is already like this. Where are you going? Lu Tingxiao didn't reply. He strode out without looking back. At the entrance of the courtyard, Ningxi had already gotten out of the car and was currently standing outside the gate, pacing back and forth, looking into the courtyard from time to time, anxiously. In the next second, she finally saw Lu Tingxiao's figure. Lu! Before Ningxi could speak, Lu Tingxiao opened the courtyard door, and without saying a word, he pulled her hand and walked into the courtyard. Ningxi looked at Lu Tingxiao's tightly clenched hand and inexplicably knew what was going on inside. Xiao Bao's condition was probably more serious than she had imagined. An unprecedented fear began to seep from the soles of her feet to the bottom of her heart. At this moment, Xiao Bao's room was in chaos. At this moment, footsteps suddenly came from behind. Everyone turned around subconsciously and saw the girl next to Lu Tingxiao holding hands. Lu Chongshan's expression instantly changed. Why did you bring this woman here? Do you think Xiao Bao's condition is not serious enough? To Lu Chongshan, Ningxi was probably an existence even more despicable than the witch. Although Yin Rui's attitude was somewhat displeased, it wasn't as intense as Lu Chongshan's. Right now, she was completely at a loss. Lu Chongshan panted heavily and roared, "Get her out of here right now!" Lu Tingxiao squeezed Ningxi's hand and was about to speak, but Ningxi suddenly shook her head at him and broke free from his hand. Contrary to Lu Tingxiao's expectation, Ningxi would collapse on the spot. To his surprise, Ningxi's expression was extremely calm when she saw Xiao Bao lying on the bed. She didn't even care about Lu Chongshan's roar and rebuke. After breaking free from Lu Tingxiao's hand, she walked straight to Xiao Bao's bed. She was clearly a girl who looked soft and weak, but at this moment, her eyes revealed a terrifying coldness that could kill gods and Buddhas. As a result, the doctors and servants who had listened to Lu Chongshan's order to stop Ningxi all unconsciously made way for her. Lu Chongshan was infuriated seeing this. "Hold it right there. What are you trying to do? Did none of you hear what I said? Who allowed you to let her in?" Lu Tingxiao stretched out his arm and blocked his father, who was about to rush forward himself. At this moment, Ningxi had already sat on the edge of Xiao Bao's bed. She first quickly took off her coat that carried the cold air outside, then lifted the thick blanket on Xiao Bao's body, and finally, carefully and gently hugged the little fellow whose skin was boiling hot and body soft. Chapter 497. When he saw this audacious woman ceaselessly disregard his warnings and actually dared to touch little Bao with her filthy hands, Lu Chongshan was simply infuriated to the limit, and he was just about to berate her furiously when he suddenly went silent for some unknown reason. Although little Baozi was already in a daze from the fever, after being hugged by Ningxi, it was as if he subconsciously knew who was hugging him. He immediately used his warm little hands to tightly grip the corner of Ningxi's clothes and rubbed his burning little face against Ningxi's chest. Ningxi forced herself to calm down. Because of Xiao Bao's subconscious action of getting close to her, her pretense broke down instantly. Because there were too many people at the scene, she managed to hold back, but her eyes were a little red at this moment. Ningxi didn't care about all the eyes around her at all, whether it was the doctors or the old man and the old lady who were glaring at her. All she could see was the weak and uncomfortable Xiao Bao in her arms. Ningxi hugged Xiao Bao tighter, leaned over and kissed his forehead, and then kissed his little face. She said in a very gentle voice, "Baby, I'm here. Don't be afraid." That voice seemed to have a special ability to calm people's hearts. Not only Xiao Bao, but also the other people at the scene felt that the heat and panic in their hearts were dispelled. Lu Chongshan still stood there blankly, forgetting to be angry for a moment. Xiao Bao curled up in Ningxi's arms with great attachment. Although his little body was still trembling, the look on his little face was obviously not as painful as before, as if he had been tortured by a nightmare. Instead, he looked at ease and contented. Ningxi adjusted her posture, stood up, and let Xiao Bao's little head rest on her shoulder. Lu Tingxiao helped Ningxi adjust Xiao Bao to a comfortable position, then picked up the small blanket on the bed and covered his son with it. Then, Ningxi began to walk around the room. As she walked, she hummed in an extremely soft voice, "Sleep, sleep. My dear baby, mother's hands gently shake you. Sleep, sleep. My dear baby, mother's arms always protect you. Sleep, sleep. My dear baby, mother loves you, mother likes you." This woman, she actually dared to claim to be Xiao Bao's mother. So shameless. Lu Chongshan should have been furious, but for some reason, when he saw the girl carrying Xiao Bao while humming a song to coax him to sleep, the anger in his heart actually didn't erupt. Instead, he had a feeling that he didn't want to disturb them. The other doctors and servants, especially the women, could not help but tear up when they saw the little bun's head resting on the girl's shoulder with a look of love on his face. Sigh, the young master is really pitiful. He didn't have a mother's love since he was young. In fact, at this time, a hug, a kiss, or a gentle lullaby from his mother would be more effective than any elixir, right? They even thought that it would be great if this girl was really the young master's mother. The one with the strangest expression was Yan Rui. She looked at her precious grandson, who was leaning on Ningxi's shoulder and was gradually calming down. In fact, his body was no longer trembling or convulsing. She inexplicably recalled Master Xian Jing's words that day. Unparalleled fortune, unparalleled fortune. Chapter 498. Ningxi was not a doctor, so she didn't know how to treat him. She was just comforting Xiao Baozi based on her instinct. In addition, there was a trace of telepathy that even she herself found hard to understand. If Xiao Baozi moved a little, groaned, frowned, or breathed at a wrong frequency, she would naturally know what was wrong with him. She would change her posture, ask Lu Tingxiao to cover Xiao Baozi with a blanket, or whisper in Xiao Baozi's ear to tell him that she was always here. Before Ningxi came, little Bun had been lying on the bed restlessly. No matter how many people were taking care of him and surrounding him, he couldn't calm down. Now that he was in Ningxi's arms and his little head was resting on her shoulder, he looked incomparably at ease and comfortable. He even gradually fell into a deep and sweet sleep. The doctors and servants looked at each other and all breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were all quiet and didn't dare to make a sound for fear of waking up the little fellow again. If something really happened to the little prince tonight, all the people in the house would be finished. The most serious thing about Xiao Bao's condition was not the fever, but his emotions made his body extremely weak. He was still in a high state of tension and couldn't sleep. So how could he get better? Ningxi's arrival undoubtedly solved the most critical problem at present. Ningxi had been comforting Xiao Baozi for a long time. Lu Tingxiao noticed that she was moving her arm uncomfortably. How could her arm not be sore after such a long time? Lu Tingxiao made Xiao Bao's small bed and motioned for Ningxi to carry Xiao Bao to the bed to sleep. Ningxi looked at Xiao Bao in her arms and saw that the little fellow's breathing was stable. He was completely asleep, so she slowly walked to the bed, bent down, and carefully put Xiao Bao on the bed. Seeing this, Lu Chongshan and Yan Rui finally calmed down. However, just as Ningxi put the little bun on the bed, the little fellow's originally sweet and peaceful little face immediately frowned, and his body began to tremble slightly. Seeing that Xiao Bao was about to fall ill again, the two elders were frightened. Before they could calm down, their hearts were in their throats again. Ningxi was naturally the first to notice it. She immediately carried Xiao Bao back and coaxed him again. Although she looked a little helpless, she didn't show the slightest impatience. Although Lu Tingxiao was worried about his son, his heart also ached for his wife. He immediately walked over and helped Ningxi sit down on the bed. What's wrong? Holding Xiao Bao in her arms, Ningxi cast a suspicious look at him. The next second, her eyes widened in shock. Lu Tingxiao squatted down and actually helped her take off her shoes. Of course, those who were more surprised than Ningxi were the other people standing quietly in the corner of the room and the Demon King's parents. Only Qin Mu touched his nose and looked at Xiao Bao, and said in an indifferent tone. After helping Ningxi take off her shoes, Lu Tingxiao gently put her legs on the bed, put two soft pillows behind her, let her lean against the headboard, adjusted her into a comfortable position, and then covered her with a quilt. He looked serious and said in an irrefutable tone, "You sleep for a while. I came here as soon as I got off the plane and haven't had a rest." Oh! Ningxi placed little Bun on her lap and hugged him. Leaning against the soft pillow on her back, she felt much more comfortable. Chapter 499. Oh, Ning, she placed little Bun on her lap and leaned against the soft pillow. Indeed, it was much more comfortable. However, she couldn't stand all the heated gazes around her. Lu Tingxiao waved his hand coldly. Everyone immediately recovered from their shock and retreated while trembling with fear. They could only guess in their hearts what was the background of this woman that eldest young master had brought back. Not only did she coax young master the moment she arrived, she even made young master, who had never been close to women, treat her with such gentleness. Could it be? Could it be that this woman is our young master's biological mother? One of the young maids had a look of sudden realization. That's not possible, right? Didn't they say that young master's biological mother died a long time ago? Otherwise, which woman would be so heartless as to abandon her own flesh and blood? And it's such an outstanding man like our young master. Perhaps there's something that she can't say? Are the few of you tired of living? How dare you talk about such things? If old master and old madam find out, you'll be chased out. A servant with a higher status berated them. Instantly, everyone fell silent. In the Liu family, the topic of young master's mother had always been a taboo. Inside the room, Ning, she was indeed a little tired after the long journey and the fright she had suffered because of Little Bon. However, the two big shots, Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui, were still in the room. It was already uncomfortable for her to be lying on the bed while they were standing, not to mention sleeping in front of them. Dad, Mom, you guys should go rest too. I'll be watching over here. Lu Tingxiao said to the two of them. Lu Chongshan looked at his precious grandson, who was in Ning Shi's arms and was completely asleep. He looked extremely conflicted. He frowned and was about to speak when Yin Rui pulled him. We'll go out first. Tell us immediately if anything happens to Little Bon. In the living room, Lu Chongshan looked displeased when he was pulled out. Why did you pull me? Yin Rui looked as though she wanted to say something. Chongshan, don't you think that girl is very special? What's so special about her? She's just good at coaxing people. Otherwise, why would Xiaobao and Ting Xiao be so infatuated with her? What made Lu Chongshan the most frustrated was that he could only watch helplessly as his son and grandson were completely controlled by that woman, and he couldn't do anything about it. Xiaobao was in so much pain before, but he's fine now that she's here. Do you think coaxing him will work? Yin Rui showed an expression of disapproval. Lu Chongshan knew that he was biased, but he would never admit it. He said in a muffled voice, Then why do you think it is? Yin Rui probed. Maybe this girl has a good fate and good fortune, so she can protect our little treasure. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongshan's face darkened. What nonsense are you talking about? How am I talking nonsense? This is what Master Xianjing said personally. Yin Rui blurted out in agitation. What did you say? Why would Master Xianjing say such a thing? Lu Chongshan immediately questioned with a serious expression. Yin Rui's eyes flickered, and she said helplessly, To tell you the truth, when I went to ask Master Xianjing to test my horoscope, I also brought this girl's horoscope. Chapter 500. You. Lu Chongshan was enraged. Why did you bring that woman's horoscope over for no reason? Do you want her to marry into the family? Yin Rui shrunk her shoulders and said casually, How is that possible? I was just worried that this woman would harm our Ting Xiao and Xiaobao, so I wanted to let Master test it. Okay? Lu Chongshan was still a little curious. After sulking for a while, he glanced at her and asked, What was the result? Yin Rui's expression was a little agitated. She recalled and said, In the end, we chose so many girls, but none of them were outstanding. Master Xianjing said that her birth chart was unparalleled luck, bringing prosperity to her husband and family, and having many children would bring many blessings. Even though Lu Chongshan was already mentally prepared, he was still shocked when he heard this. How is that possible? Master Xianjing really said that himself? Why would I lie to you? These were Master Xianjing's original words, word for word. Master Xianjing also said that this girl's horoscope is very compatible with our Tingxiao's. I didn't believe it first, but I was afraid that you would blame me, so I didn't tell you. It wasn't until Xiaobao's matter today that I thought about it again. All of us tried everything, but it was useless. But as soon as this girl came, our Xiaobao's illness immediately recovered. No matter how much Xiaobao likes this girl, it can't have such a big impact. Yin Rui analyzed bit by bit. Lu Chongshan paced back and forth in the living room with a solemn expression. After a while, he finally made a decision and said in a low voice, "The horoscope is just a formality. How can it be completely true? Don't mention this again in the future. Besides, it's still unknown whether Xiaobao is well or not. What if he... How can you curse your own grandson like that?" Yin Rui immediately scolded her husband in dissatisfaction. "I'm just worried about Xiaobao." Lu Chongshan also realized that he had said something wrong and looked embarrassed. Lu Chongshan thought about Yin Rui's words and hesitated for a while. In the end, he stared at his wife seriously and said sternly, "The 8 characters are illusory, but a person's character can be reflected in all aspects. Don't forget how Xiaobao became like this 2 years ago. It was because we trusted that kind of person. In fact, Yin Rui also knew that even if Lu Chongshan knew what Master Xianjing said that day, his attitude might not change much. After hearing this, her face turned slightly pale, and she nodded. "I was just saying, of course, I will be careful." In Xiaobao's room, after Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui left, Ningxi immediately felt sleepy, but because she was worried about Little Bun, she didn't dare to sleep. Lu Tingxiao sat on the edge of the bed and adjusted the quilt for her. "Go to sleep. I'm here. I'll wake you up if anything happens." After that, he planted a light kiss on the girl's forehead. Ningxi's eyes suddenly widened. She was so shocked by Lu Tingxiao's action that she lost most of her sleepiness. "Are you sure you really want me to sleep?" Looking at the girl's widened eyes, a trace of darkness flashed across Lu Tingxiao's deep eyes. "Sorry." Although he said sorry, what he did was completely the opposite. The man leaned over and planted another kiss on the corner of her mouth. After a long time, he finally left, and Ning, she was completely awake. "You don't dare to move because I'm holding Xiaobao. Ningxi, one day, you will become Xiaobao's mother." Chapter 501. In her dreams, Ningxi's mind was still filled with Lu Tingxiao's words. "One day, you'll become Xiaobao's mother." Oh, become Xiaobao's mother. If she really was, how good would that be? She really liked Xiaobao. After all, she was still worried about Xiaobao, so he didn't sleep well. Ning, she woke up not long after. The first thing she did was to look at Xiaobao in her arms. Luckily, the little fellow was still sleeping soundly in her arms. His soft fingers subconsciously tugged at the corner of her clothes, and his neck and back were covered in a fine layer of sweat. That's great. It's good to be able to sweat. It's good for heat dissipation. Ningxi immediately touched Xiaobao's forehead. His temperature seemed to have dropped quite a bit. Lu Tingxiao was originally standing in front of the wide floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the gradually brightening sky. When he heard movement on the bed, he immediately walked over. "He's awake." Ningxi touched Xiaobao's forehead and urged him softly. "Lu Tingxiao, can you check if Xiaobao's fever has dropped a little? I feel like Xiaobao's body isn't as hot as before." Lu Tingxiao nodded and touched his son's forehead with his wide palm. His expression softened slightly. "His temperature has dropped. Don't worry, I'll call the doctor in to take a look." "Okay." Ningxi nodded repeatedly. Lu Tingxiao went out for a while. When he came back, Qin Mufeng and 2 other doctors followed behind him. Qin Mufeng attentively handed over the thermometer. Lu Tingxiao took the thermometer and carefully placed it under Xiaobao's armpit. A moment later, the results were out. The thermometer showed 37.8 degrees. Although he still had a slight fever, it was much better than the previous 40 degrees. Moreover, he didn't use any medicine at all to cool his body down. This was really not easy. Following that, the other two doctors gave Xiao Bao a detailed examination. After the examination last night, the doctor's complexion had improved a lot. Currently, young master's condition has stabilized, but we still need to continue observing him. At least until tomorrow, after 24 hours. At this moment, Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui heard the news and hurriedly walked in. They hurriedly looked at the thermometer. When they saw that the temperature had dropped, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. However, they still didn't dare to let their guard down. Yes, we still have to continue observing. It's better to be careful. We don't know if the fire will start again. It was also up and down before. Yin Rui's face was full of worry. Lu Chongshan nodded his head in agreement. His nerves that had been stretched taut for an entire night could finally relax a little. He simply didn't dare to imagine what would happen if something really happened to Xiao Bao. At this time, Ning Shi, who was holding little Bun on the bed, suddenly frowned and exclaimed, "Ah!" For a moment, everyone's gaze landed on her nervously. "Yin Rui, what's wrong? What happened to Xiao Bao?" "Lu Chongshan, what happened?" The doctors' hearts were in their throats. They hoped that nothing bad would happen to this little devil again. Under everyone's nervous gazes, Ning Shi wanted to say something, but hesitated. She looked embarrassed, which made everyone even more worried. In the end, only Lu Tingxiao walked over without saying a word. He first rolled up his sleeves slightly, then lifted the quilt and began to massage her legs naturally. He said calmly, "Are your legs numb?" Chapter 502. All the doctors and servants waiting to serve him were speechless. Oh my God! The man in front of them was personally massaging a woman's legs with his sleeves rolled up. Was he really the unreasonable young master they knew? The terrifying CEO of Lu Group, Lu Tingxiao? Since last night, their impression of Lu Tingxiao in their hearts had been refreshed again and again. Even Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui were in complete disbelief. They couldn't believe that the man in front of them was really their son, let alone the others. Previously, they only knew that their son was infatuated with this woman, but they had never seen the details with their own eyes. The shock of seeing it with their own eyes was definitely 1,000 times stronger than hearing it from others and imagining it. The son that they had given birth to was almost unrecognizable to them. Actually, Ningxi herself was even more shocked than the surrounding onlookers. At this moment, Ningxi felt as if thousands of wild beasts were stampeding through her heart. Great Demon King, can you restrain yourself a little? Everyone is here. Helpless, Lu Tingxiao couldn't sense the roars in her heart and the countless gazes hinting at him. He continued to focus on massaging her legs, which were numb and aching because he didn't dare to move for a long time in fear of waking Xiao Bao up. As he massaged, Ningxi almost gave up and was already numb to the gazes around her. And, oh, the great Demon King's skills are really good. It's so comfortable. Are you feeling better? After a while, Lu Tingxiao looked up and asked gently. Ningxi nodded hurriedly. Yes. The way your father looks at me is as if he's looking at Baoji, who can bring disaster to the country and people and confuse the emperor. Only then did Lu Tingxiao cover her with the quilt again. He gently combed her slightly messy hair, still not hiding his love for the girl. At this moment, all the servants in the old mansion had come to a clear conclusion. The woman in front of them was definitely not to be offended. After all, he had a favor to ask now. No matter how angry Lu Chongshan was, he could only bear with it for Xiao Bao. He snorted and turned to leave with a face full of anger. Once outside, Lu Chongshan couldn't hold it in anymore and said angrily to Yin Rui, "Outrageous! Look at him. He's a man, but he's doing this for a woman. He's so humble, and he's even doing this in front of so many people. Does he even remember who he is?" As a mother, although Yin Rui was unhappy, from a woman's point of view, Lu Tingxiao's behavior wasn't inappropriate. If you really like someone, you would naturally be very considerate. As Yin Rui thought about it, she absent-mindedly glanced at Lu Chongshan. She and Lu Chongshan's marriage was well matched, and back then, They were also a talented man and a beautiful woman. However, she clearly knew that this man had only married her because she was the most suitable candidate and had never truly loved her. The next day, the doctor examined Xiao Bao again at noon and in the evening. In the evening, Xiao Bao's fever subsided, and his condition finally stabilized. After a day and a night of torment, everyone finally heaved a sigh of relief. Since Xiao Bao was fine, Lu Chongshan, who had long since reached the end of his patience, naturally stopped holding back. She walked into Xiao Bao's room and said to Ning Shi, "Miss Ning, sorry to trouble you this time. I'll ask the driver to send you back later." Chapter 503. After Lu Chongshan finished speaking, he instructed the butler beside him, "Xing Wu, prepare a generous gift." These words were not only to chase the guest away, but also to completely cut off all ties with the guest and show that they owed each other nothing. This was burning the bridge after crossing the river, throwing it away after using it. Wasn't it too obvious? Ning, she didn't care about Lu Chongshan's attitude toward her at all. However, when she thought about being separated from Little Bun, she felt a bone-deep pain. She subconsciously hugged Little Bun even tighter. He didn't want to be separated from Little Bun. In fact, at this moment, an intense viciousness arose in the depths of his heart, and he had the insane thought of forcefully taking Little Baozi away. Ning Shi's aura suddenly became cold, and her cold eyes swept over everyone present calmly. Instinctively, she estimated everyone's strength. If she really wanted to, no one here could stop her from taking Xiao Bao away except Lu Tingxiao. Perhaps sensing Ning Shi's mood swings and the cold aura on her body, the Little Bun, who was originally sleeping peacefully in her arms, frowned uncomfortably. Ning Shi suddenly came to a realization, and only then did she suppress the anger in her heart in annoyance. She patted Little Baozi's back to appease him. "Rui, go and carry Xiao Bao." Lu Chongshan couldn't help but get angry when he saw that the woman didn't move at all. Yin Rui nodded and was about to step forward to take Xiao Bao from Ning Shi's arms. At this time, Lu Tingxiao walked to the edge of Ning Shi's bed first and motioned Ning Shi to let him hold Xiao Bao. "Ning Shi, let me hold him." Ning Shi looked at Lu Tingxiao warily. Even if it was Lu Tingxiao, she was unwilling to give her Little Bun to him. "No, don't give it. Little treasure is mine." Looking at the girl's guarded look, Lu Tingxiao's eyes flashed with a trace of affection. His eyes wrapped around her like a warm tide, and his gentle tone inexplicably had the ability to calm people's hearts. "Xiaoxi, be good. Trust me, okay?" Ning Shi stared at Lu Tingxiao, her eyes red. She didn't believe it. No one would believe it. "Why? Why did you also want to take Xiao Bao away?" "No, that's not right." How is this snatching? Xiao Bao was originally theirs, not hers. Not hers. Ning Shi, what's wrong with you? What the hell are you doing? Ning Shi used all her self-control to sober herself up. In the end, she carefully handed the Little Bun to Lu Tingxiao, but her eyes were glued to him. At the same time, her eyes were filled with grievance. Lu Tingxiao looked at the girl who was looking at him as if he was a traitor, and a helpless smile flashed across his face. Upon seeing this, Lu Chongshan nodded in satisfaction. "Xing Wu, prepare the car. Miss Ning, please follow me." Xing Wu accepted the order and motioned for Ning Shi to leave with him. Lu Tingxiao picked up the Little Bun with one arm, who was obviously uneasy because of the change of arms, and protected Ning Shi behind him with the other hand. Then, she looked at her parents coldly and said in a calm voice, "Dad, Mom, thank you for taking care of Xiao Bao. The company isn't busy lately, and Jingli will be back soon, so I won't trouble you anymore." As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui's expressions changed. Yin Rui looked anxious. "Tingxiao, what are you doing? Xiao Bao's body was just right. Where are you taking Xiao Bao?" Chapter 504. Lu Chongshan slammed his walking stick on the table angrily. You bastard! What do you mean by this? You want to take Xiaobao away? Don't you dare! Lu Tingxiao's eyes turned cold. Father, Xiaobao is your grandson, but he's also my son. Lu Chongshan was so angry that he blurted out, I'm still your father. I think you've been bewitched by this woman. If you dare to take Xiaobao away today, you'll have to step over my dead body. Lu Tingxiao's eyes turned cold. If you insist on threatening me with your life, I have nothing to say, but I must take Xiaobao away today. In an instant, the atmosphere between the father and son was extremely tense. Everyone was silent and did not dare to breathe too loudly. Yan Rui was completely on her husband's side. Ting Xiao, even if you blame us for not taking good care of Xiaobao, this was an accident. We are Xiaobao's grandparents. Is there anyone in the world who is more devoted to Xiaobao than us? You'd rather trust a woman you've only known for a few days than trust your biological parents? This has nothing to do with her. Lu Chongshan could not tolerate his son's defense of that woman. He was so angry that his eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He no longer cared that there were so many people present. He lost control and bellowed. Have you forgotten what happened 2 years ago? Have you forgotten how Xiaobao became like this? Isn't it enough to learn such a painful lesson once? How dare you trust a woman like her? Yan Rui saw that Lu Chongshan was getting more and more agitated, so she quickly went over to support him. Ting Xiao, please understand how your father and I feel. We're really scared. Lu Tingxiao narrowed his eyes. I understand how you feel. I swear on my life that this will not happen a second time. She's different. She's only loved Xiaobao ever since they met. You know how Xiaobao has changed since he met her. However, the thoughts of the old people were still too stubborn, especially when it came to the matter of the past. Therefore, after hearing Lu Tingxiao's words, they only wavered for a few seconds before returning to their original state. No matter what Lu Tingxiao said at that moment, they wouldn't listen to a single word. They just wouldn't allow Lu Tingxiao to take them away. Lu Tingxiao's expression grew darker and darker. Although he didn't have the heart to do it, he knew that it was better to get the pain over with than to prolong it. Therefore, he said the words that might hurt them. The most terrifying thing is not that Xiaobao is hurt by an outsider, but that he is hurt by someone close to him, and that he is destroyed in the name of love. Lu Chongshan's face stiffened and his body trembled. His son's words were like a boulder pressing down on his heart. Although he had always been doing this for Xiaobao's sake, ever since he had forcibly confined Xiaobao to the old house, he had only suffered injuries. Last night, he had almost, following Lu Tingxiao's words, the living room became so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. The situation was in a stalemate. At this moment, the person who was in the most awkward position was Ningxi. She knew that with her around, there were many things that they couldn't talk about. Therefore, even though she really didn't want to leave Xiaobao, she had to consider whether she should leave first so that the family of 3 could have a good talk. Perhaps because everyone was arguing too loudly, Xiaobao, who was lying on Lu Tingxiao's shoulder, furrowed his brows. His eyelashes fluttered and he slowly opened his eyes. Ningxi was standing behind Lu Tingxiao, so when Xiaobao opened his eyes, he saw her immediately. As the little fellow had just woken up, he looked extremely adorable with his sleepy eyes. He blinked his eyes gently, and after seeing Ningxi, his gaze never left her. Perhaps he thought that he had seen wrongly. The little fellow rubbed his eyes with his soft little hands. Then, without hesitation, he stretched out his short little arms in Ningxi's direction. In the next second, a soft and slightly hoarse voice rang out in the quiet air. Ugh! Chapter 505. In this living room that was filled with smoke and could explode at any moment, a childish voice that could melt hearts rang out without warning. It was like a sudden clap of thunder exploding in everyone's ears. Lu Chongshan's gloomy face instantly went blank. Yan Rui, who was about to open her mouth to persuade him, suddenly widened her eyes. Even the usually calm and composed Lu Tingxiao was stunned. He held his son in his arms and stood rooted to the ground, not daring to move. That voice just now rang out in his ears. If it wasn't for the lingering breath of the little fellow when he spoke, he would have thought that he was hallucinating. He couldn't remember how long it had been since he last heard that voice, but it was almost the same as the one in his memory. He thought that he would never hear this voice again in this lifetime, because everyone present was truly too shocked. For a time, there was actually no one who spoke. However, all of their burning gazes descended onto Little Bao, and their gazes were filled with hesitation and desire to speak. The one who was even more shocked than Xiao Bao's grandparents and father was probably Ning Shi. She was standing right in front of Xiao Bao, and not only did she hear it with her own ears, she also saw the moment Xiao Bao opened his mouth with her own eyes. Xiao Bao was completely oblivious to what he had done and how big of an impact he had caused. He only focused on maintaining his posture of asking for a hug. Seeing that Ning Shi was ignoring him, he pursed his lips and revealed a sad expression that looked like he was about to cry. Only then did the dazed Ning Shi snap out her daze. She hurriedly rushed forward and carried Xiao Bao from Lu Tingxiao's arms. Ning Shi's action was like a switch, and everyone else also recovered from their shock. Tingxiao, Xiao Bao, just now, was Xiao Bao talking just now? Was it Xiao Bao? Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan asked one after another, so excited that even their voices were trembling. The doctors and servants around them also began to whisper to each other. Did you guys hear that just now? Little young master spoke. I heard it. Little young master said he was going to hug him. I thought I heard it wrong. Little young master hasn't spoken for 2 years. This is too amazing. What exactly happened just now? I don't know. He suddenly spoke. I'm stunned. After returning to Aunt Xiaoxi's arms, Little Bun was finally satisfied. Even the noise around him could not affect him. He yawned delicately, then lay on Aunt Xiaoxi's fragrant shoulder and fell asleep again with great peace of mind. He left a room full of people who were stunned by his unintentional words. That Miss Ning, did you see Little Bao talking just now? Can you talk to Xiao Bao and let him say more? Yin Rui asked carefully. Lu Chongshan seemed to have completely forgotten who the person who had been glaring at him was. He echoed from the side, That's right. Seeing that Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan were looking at her eagerly, Ning Shi patted her back and coughed awkwardly. But Xiao Bao is asleep. Yin Rui, Lu Chongshan, sleeping again? Wasn't he trying to make them anxious to death? But he couldn't wake up his precious grandson at this time. What could he do? Therefore, everyone's eyes fell on Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao looked at his son with a complicated expression, gently touched his son's little head with his big warm palm, and said softly, Xiao Bao did speak just now. Don't worry. Let's wait until he wakes up. Chapter 506. No hurry. They had been waiting for 2 years. They thought it was impossible for Xiao Bao to talk to them again. How could they not be anxious? But now they had no choice but to wait. Xing Wu, whose task was interrupted because of Baozi, finally found a chance to speak. Master, should we prepare a car? As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chongshan immediately shot him a displeased look. Prepare a car? Go to the kitchen to prepare dinner. With that, he coughed and turned to Ning Shi awkwardly. Miss Ning, stay for dinner. How could he be willing to let this woman stay? But his precious grandson didn't speak to his grandparents or his father or the doctor, but to this woman. Yes, stay for dinner. No, stay for a few more days. Look, Xiao Bao can't leave you now, right? Yin Rui also said. Faced with the sudden change of attitude, Ning Shi subconsciously looked at Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao frowned and didn't give in. This time, he would definitely take Xiao Bao away. After all, Xiao Bao was his son. Lu Chongshan knew what Lu Tingxiao was thinking. He said seriously, even if you want to take Xiao Bao away, you should at least wait until he recovers. Then we can let you take him away. Are you trying to make us anxious to death by taking Xiao Bao away? Hearing this, the stubborn Lu Chongshan actually compromised. A gleam of surprise flashed across Lu Tingxiao's eyes. Then he looked at Ning Shi and said, Let's go back to the room and wait for Xiao Bao to wake up. Xiao Bao had just spoken. If he took Xiaobao away now, Lu Chongshan would really break off the relationship between him and his son. In this case, Ningxi understood. She nodded and went back to the room with Baozi in her arms. As soon as Ningxi entered the room with Baozi, Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan couldn't control their emotions anymore. Chongshan, Chongshan, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Our Xiaobao spoke. Xiaobao really spoke. I thought I wouldn't be able to live until the day I die. Yin Rui burst into tears. Nonsense. Didn't Xiaobao speak? I told him that with the blessing of our ancestors, Xiaobao would definitely recover. Looking at his parents' excited faces, Lu Tingxiao wanted to say something but stopped himself. In the end, he didn't pour cold water on them. Xiaobao had only said one word, and he had said it unconsciously. Even so, it was already a huge breakthrough. In the room, Ningxi kissed little Bun's soft cheeks. She was so happy that she was about to go to heaven. Roar! My steam bun has spoken, spoken, spoken. My steam bun wants me to hug. My steam bun's voice is so cute, so cute. My heart melts. How could even her voice be so cute? At this moment, everyone was waiting anxiously and nervously. Fortunately, little Bun had slept for a day and a night and was already full. After waking up just now, he only slept for a while and quickly woke up. When Ningxi saw little Bun open his eyes, her face was immediately filled with surprise. At the same time, she was a little nervous, afraid that she would startle him. She said softly, "Baby, you're awake?" Little Baozi blinked, looked at Ningxi for a while, and blinked again. Finally, she was sure that the person in front of her was Aunt Xiaoxia, and her big black, grape-like eyes suddenly sparkled like stars. Chapter 507. Xiao Baozi rubbed himself in Ningxi's arms and looked at her without blinking, as if he was afraid that she would disappear if he blinked. Seeing this, Ningxi felt distressed and kissed the little Bun on both cheeks. Aunt Xiaoxia, it's true. It's not a dream. Papa brought Aunt Xiaoxia to see you. It's because you're sick. Being kissed, Xiao Baozi's cheeks were flushed and all the uneasiness in his heart was dispelled. He pursed his lips shyly and kissed Ningxi back. Ningxi covered her face and felt so happy that she would feel like this even if she won an Oscar. Looking at Xiao Baozi's eyes that seemed to be able to speak, Ningxi wanted to spend more time with him. But she knew that there were still many people waiting anxiously outside, so she said, "Baby, are you hungry? I'll take you to eat something, okay?" Xiao Baozi nodded obediently. "Wait a minute. I'll help you get dressed." Ningxi walked to the wardrobe with Xiao Baozi in her arms and began to choose clothes for him. "Do you want to wear that?" Xiao Baozi glanced at the wardrobe and chose a set of cartoon sweaters that Ningxi had bought for him. Well, just as I thought. After helping Xiao Baozi get dressed, Ningxi walked out with Xiao Baozi in her arms. As soon as they went out, they were stared at by everyone. The little fellow, who was lying on the bed and dying last night, had now changed into bright-colored clothes and was held in Ningxi's arms. His eyes were also a lot more lively, as if he had become a different person. The servants couldn't help thinking, sure enough, a child with a mother is like a treasure. Yin Rui's eyes turned red when she saw her grandson wake up, handsome and lovable. Xiao Bao is awake. Come on, come and eat. You must be hungry after not eating for so long." Lu Chongshan also said, "Don't just stand there. Sit down and eat." At the dinner table, Lu Chongshan sat at the head of the table, and Lu Tingxiao sat on his left. Lu Chongshan was going to let Xiao Bao sit on his other side, but the little boy turned his head and immediately hugged Ningxi's neck. In the end, Lu Tingxiao pulled out the seat next to him and let Ningxi sit next to him. Yin Rui and Qin Mufeng sat opposite them. At the dining table, except for Ningxi, who was focused on feeding Xiao Bao, everyone else had their own thoughts. Of course, the thing that everyone was most concerned about was whether little Bao was really willing to speak. In the end, Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui could no longer hold themselves back. "Xiao Bao, are you still feeling unwell?" Yin Rui asked lovingly. Xiao Bao was focused on being fed porridge by Ningxi and did not answer. Yin Rui naturally did not mind. She continued probing with concern. Xiao Bao, is the porridge bad? You're sick, so you can't eat oily food. Grandma will cook something delicious for you later, okay? You're not feeling well, so Grandpa has helped you apply for leave. You don't have to go to school these few days. Yin Rui and Lu Chongshan talked to Xiao Bao for a long time. However, Xiao Bao seemed to be a little slow in responding to the questions from the outside world. He only gave very indifferent responses, as if he didn't hear them at all. It was as if he had returned to the past overnight. This made Yin Rui anxious. She had finally opened her mouth to say a word, but she was not sure if he was really willing to speak. Why did he return to the past? Chapter 508. Ting Xiao, what's wrong with Xiao Bao? Why does he look dull? Yin Rui said anxiously. She had been looking forward to teasing Xiao Bao, but he didn't say a word and didn't even respond. How could she not be anxious? Lu Chongshan said unhappily. What dullness? Xiao Bao has just recovered from a serious illness, so it's normal for him to be slow. In fact, Lu Chongshan was also worried. He was worried that Xiao Bao's brain might have a problem after having a fever for so long. Qin Mufeng frowned. He was also worried that Xiao Bao's condition was not right. Ningxi had been playing with Xiao Bao for a while in the room, so she knew clearly that there was nothing wrong with Xiao Bao. However, in front of Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui, she was in an awkward position. If she said a wrong word, she would bring trouble to herself, so she didn't say anything. Therefore, she remained invisible and focused on feeding Xiao Bao. Although Lu Tingxiao didn't know anything, he looked calm and not anxious at all. He glanced at his son who was obediently eating porridge in Ningxi's arms, and then said casually, Xiao Bao, there's something dirty in your Aunt Xiaoxi's hair. Xiao Bao, who was eating porridge, immediately looked up, stared at Aunt Xiaoxi's hair, and searched with his soft little hands. After searching for a long time, he still couldn't find it, so he looked at Papa anxiously, with his big eyes full of anxiety. Where is it? Lu Tingxiao picked up a piece of fish for Ningxi and said slowly, I was wrong. Xiao Bao, Ningxi, this devil is so cunning. Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui, how could you lie to a child like this? Qin Mufeng, ahem. However, after being reminded by Lu Tingxiao, they finally understood that even if Xiao Bao was sick and weak, his brain and reaction were completely fine. He was very clever. However, he only reacted to things that he cared about. Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui looked at each other with a bad expression. Sure enough, they forced Xiao Bao to stay with them and restricted him from seeing Ningxi, which made Xiao Bao feel repulsed by them. Seeing the tense atmosphere at the dining table, Qin Mufeng felt that it was time for him to play a role as a psychologist. Thus, Qin Mufeng coughed lightly, took out a pen and paper, and wrote a word on it. Then, he placed it in front of Xiao Bao and coaxed him gently. Xiao Bao, do you know how to pronounce this word? Qin Mufeng wrote the word Shi on the paper. Shi as in Ningxi. To think that he would actually tempt Xiao Bao to talk like that. Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui had a look of admiration on their faces. He was indeed a professional psychologist. Lu Tingxiao glanced at the word, tilted his head, and didn't say anything. Xiao Bao stared at the word. Everyone stared at Xiao Bao. Under the nervous gazes of everyone at the table, Xiao Bao first looked at Qin Mufeng with a very subtle expression, then immediately picked up the pen and wrote on the paper, Shi. Then it threw away the pen and raised its head to look at Ningxi, indicating that it wanted to continue feeding. Puff! Ningxi, who had been silent all night, couldn't help but burst into laughter. My darling little treasure is too naughty. But what if she became cuter? Qin Mufeng wanted to smash his head against the ground. His wisdom in this lifetime was ruined by this brat's hands. Chapter 509. Although Qin Mufeng had been tricked by Lil Bun, Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui looked much better. Their worries about Lil Bao's brain had all disappeared. They knew that Lil Bao was smart. The way the little fellow looked at Qin Mufeng just now was obviously intentional. The more they looked at him, the more he looked like Ting Xiao when he was young. Although he didn't like to talk, he was so bored. The two elders looked at Xiao Bao with eyes full of love and pride. Qin Mufeng could only silently vomit blood at the side. Forget it, forget it. His sacrifice had finally made a contribution. Didn't it set off the little ancestor's intelligence? In the end, the meal was finished in a harmonious atmosphere. However, everyone felt a little regretful because no matter how they probed, Lil Bao didn't say a word. After dinner, Ningxi knew that they definitely had something to discuss, so she brought Lil Bao back to her room. What do we do now? Our Lil Bao still doesn't want to talk. Yin Rui sighed. Lu Chongshan's expression was solemn. In order to save face, Qin Mufeng explained in his professional way. Actually, it's easy to understand. Lil Bao doesn't want to talk because there's always a shadow in his heart. Subconsciously, he's always in a state of self-protection and vigilance. However, when he was in a completely relaxed state and in front of someone he could completely trust, he would naturally speak after all the conditions were met. He didn't even need any guidance. This is in line with the direction of my previous judgment. So you're saying that to make Lil Bao speak, we still have to rely on that. Lu Chongshan coughed lightly and finally stopped calling her that woman. We still have to rely on Ningxi. Qin Mufeng nodded. You can understand it that way. Ningxi is the key factor. You could even say that she's the decisive factor. Actually, Qin Mufeng had said similar things countless times, but it was a pity that Lu Chongshan was too stubborn and wouldn't listen. Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Yin Rui sighed and comforted herself. So many doctors have looked at him and said that his condition isn't optimistic. They said that with Lil Bao's condition, there's a high chance that he won't be able to speak for the rest of his life. At least this proves that it's entirely possible to make Lil Bao speak. Lu Chongshan nodded. Yes, this is a good thing. Lu Chongshan looked at his eldest son and said, "Come with me." In the study, Lu Chongshan was silent for a while, as if he was making an important decision. After a while, he finally said, "Take Xiao Bao with you." Lu Tingxiao wasn't surprised by Lu Chongshan's decision. However, it was better than he had expected that his father would change his mind. He didn't expect Xiao Bao to suddenly speak up. It's true that I didn't take good care of Xiao Bao while he was with me. This is my responsibility. However, even if I hand Xiao Bao over to you now, it doesn't mean that I'm completely at ease. If anything happens to Xiao Bao while he's at your place, I'll still bring Xiao Bao back immediately. At that time, you're not allowed to object. Do you agree? Lu Chongshan said with a serious expression. Lu Tingxiao nodded. Sure. Lu Chongshan turned his face away and waved his hand impatiently, as if afraid that he would regret it. Go. That you're tuning in to the Eternal Immortal Ballad YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.